to me like.
Every day feels boring, the same thing, routine in the morning. Grew up too fast without warning, and when it rains it's pouring. I got dreams, big dreams, I wanna do big things, but I just can't seem to put it all together. I just wanna be seen. I'm jumping ship, I'm a diving, middle of the ocean, swimming till I find it. I see an island out ahead, filled with things that I've wanted since I was a kid. Swim to it.
Whoops. All right. What's up, guys? I need to get back in the algorithm because this isn't working at all. Makes me like not even want to go live. But I guess it's kind of a catch-22. You got to be in the algorithm for people to know that you're live. So, yeah. Buy more candles. Exactly. Right now, it's a buy one, get one special. I was in the middle of actually doing a commercial for it when I can't get these thoughts out of my head. So that's why I figured I'd go live and discuss it. But I'll wait for more people. And if more people don't come, well, we're going to have issues. But I think this is why I don't want to go live much anymore. It's so fucking inundated. And if you're not talking about the hot topic, nobody's interested. You either have to be talking about Betty or Sebastian Rogers. No thanks. That's one thing I've noticed. So, but there is BOGO special going on right now. Buy one, get one. But yeah, it's just fucking inundated. Like, no matter what time you go live, there's 12 people live about the same topic. No thanks. And it's just frustrating. So, hey, Debbie. But yeah, this is when I got frustrated to begin with because I can't even find a time to go live that 25 people are not live. Like 25 people that we share subs. So, yeah. This is why I stopped going live. This is one of the reasons I stopped going live. It's just not fun when you're, when everybody else wants to talk about something that you don't want to talk about. It's very frustrating. Believe me, you. So, how you guys doing tonight? Hopefully good. Hey, Big Sexy. I know, sweet one. You sounded country accent when you said buy one, get one. But seriously, though, it is the second biggest sale of the year. Well, first one this year, I think. I think I did it last year. I don't think I did it this year yet. And I'm excited to make a lot of candles, and I only got like 6 orders today, which is pretty low. Usually buy one, get one, I get like 20 orders. So part of it is, where is everybody? That's part of it. Sweet one, I'm glad you appreciate me. But it seems like most people don't. So I'm trying. I am trying to keep it going. I know you're here, Yarn. But 30 people doesn't pay bills. That's the problem. At 30 people, I could be doing something else. You know what I mean? It has to be worth it. And if it's not worth it, it's not worth it. Hey, Johnny. Oh, also, Johnny, I'm glad you're here. Let me talk about something real fast that from the other night when I was talking about the my views on Christianity and stuff. My views on Christianity, I don't want anybody to get offensive by it. I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying that my way is the only way, or, you know, that I have to think a certain way. As somebody who grew up in the Jewish religion, there is absolutely nothing Christian that I would ever like do. So when my views, my thoughts are from a Jewish background, not from a Christian background. So I just want people to understand that. I think some people were confused on that and thought that I was saying stuff like against Christianity, and I wasn't at all. But as someone who grew up with a Jewish background, it's completely different. We see things differently, not even from an agnostic background, from a Jewish background. So, Johnny, I know that you're very strong in your religion. So that's when I saw you, I was like, oh, let me address that. So there's that. So I just wanted to explain that because a lot of people think I was coming from like a Christian background. No. There's no such thing as a consistent cancer survivor. I know, right? I have to go to my oncologist, I think 2 days. I got to call them tomorrow and get those stupid pills. And I have to get this port out. I still have the port in. So I got to make an appointment for surgery to get that out because we need that gone. Gonzo. My hair's growing back, but ever so slowly. Yeah. So me saying like, you know, he didn't die for our sins. That's not from a agnostic background. That's from a Jewish background. Like that's how I was raised. So there's that. You didn't even think of my cancer. How come? The port does need to go. I still feel it. But I keep saying I got to call him to get it out. There's no point in keeping it. I'll never go through this again, ever. If I ever got breast cancer again, I'm cutting them off. Chop, chop. Chop, chop. So yeah. But I'll never go through chemo again. Hell no. Whatever happens next happens. But my hair looks so stupid because it's got like little things sticking out. Yes, we eat Jello, and some Jews eat pork, some don't. My family always did eat pork, but I have cousins that won't eat pork. I have cousins that are vegans. It's just like a personal feeling, I guess, personal thing. But yeah, who doesn't eat bacon? Love bacon. Love pork. Love steak. Love all meat, really. Oh, that's right. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, I heard that Marsha White Sharkey passed. My condolences to her family. And if you're from OGDC, then you know who Marsha White Sharkey is. And yes, she passed. So, unfortunately, it's a lot of people that died recently. There really has been. And I'm sure there's more that we don't even know about. Like, I'm sure there's subs that have died that we just don't know about or just kind of disappeared. You know what I mean? You never know. All right. So I was working on this commercial tonight. And as I'm working on it, I'm listening to Vinnie Politano, who I happen to like. I think sometimes he's a little over the top, but I happen to like him. And I can enjoy listening to him. So, hi, Harmony. So it got me thinking, when you put on all of these YouTubers, all these Lawtubers, I sit back and I think, are they not hurting a jury pool? Now, Vinnie Politan, I always call him Politano, but Vinnie Politan has been around God knows how long, years and years, since I was a kid on Court TV. Although I think he's only like 7 years older than me. But I remember Vinny on Court TV from the time I started watching true crime on TV. He's always been on Court TV. And people respect him. People look up to him. People, think that he's a really good reporter. And they always have. And Vinnie Politan gets associated with Court TV, without a doubt. The lawyer, another very well-respected YouTuber who's a lawyer, Emily D. Baker. Now, the thing about them is Emily D. Baker is even in a different class than the other two. Hey, Crystal. But Emily D. Baker, lawyer, Vinnie Politan, and I'm sure there's others that I'm not even thinking about. Hey, Mac. That all get 20 to 30,000 in each live that they do about a case. So you have, let's say, Madeline Soto. And a Madeline Soto case. Vinnie Politan offered a ton of opinions on that case of what he thought. Is the mom involved? Is the mom not involved? Now, if you've never watched Vinny on his YouTube channel, it's different than Court TV. On Court TV, Vinny is, told what to say, how to say it, who to say. He does more reporting. He doesn't really give an opinion. He'll bring experts in to give their opinions, but for the most part, Vinny kind of sits back and doesn't really say much. On his YouTube channel, Vinny goes absolutely whatever he's feeling. He will, I know, I'm going to get to that, AMAC. He will, give his personal opinions. He'll throw his voice inflections. He'll be like, and this was wild. Like, really, everything that he does. Yeah, I just announced it, Joy. Everything that he does on everything he can't do on Court TV is what he does on his own channel. Now you have YouTubers that a lot of them are criminals, a lot of them are felons. They don't have any iota about the legal system other than they've been in jail or, no formal training or anything. They're getting a couple thousand each live. Then you have the righteous do-gooders, and I'm just kind of breaking everything up before I tie it all together. Then you have the righteous do-gooders who think their shit doesn't stink, and they're going to call out this one, this one, this one, this one, because they're tainting a case, and they're doing this, and they're doing that. And, they're ruining juries and blah, blah, blah. So all this I started thinking about. And my question is, as far as YouTubers go, every single one of them is just another asshole on YouTube, like we all are. We don't have any formal training. We're not in a courtroom every single day. Even if we've taken classes, gotten degrees, whatever, we're not practicing attorneys. We don't see this stuff inside and out. We haven't covered cases the way Vinnie Politan has. We just don't. We're armchair detectives. Yes, some are former cops, but we're not even going there. We're just armchair detectives with no pull in the legal system, no pull in anywhere. But we're just not. But if I am Joe Schmo on the street, and I know juries are not supposed to turn on the TV. They're not supposed to watch YouTube. They're not supposed to do things. That doesn't mean they don't. And I'm going to tell you, majority probably does. I don't, they're going to watch the news. They're going to turn on YouTube. Their family members going to turn on YouTube. Social media is just too big to ignore. And in my opinion, judges and the courts need to really change, because back in the day, it was very easy to say, don't turn your TV on. Okay, we won't turn our TV on. Don't read a newspaper. Gotcha. But now it's everywhere. And most jobs, you're online. Most people can't survive on a jury salary, which is like $10 an hour, for 2-3 weeks at a time, if not more. Look at the Karen Reed jurors. So odds are they're going to turn on social media. So they're going to turn on YouTube. Your average juror in the state of Massachusetts, Washington, New Jersey, Chicago, and Texas, your average age of juror is 49. Now, Chicago was like 48. Massachusetts was 51. It was in that age range. They were all within 3-year difference between 48 and 51. So I'm going to say an average of 49. And this is all verifiable facts that you can look up. Vinnie Politan was born in 1964. Hey, Coffee was born in 1964, which makes him about 6-7 years older than me. I would guarantee you, I'd even put money on this, that in Vinny's algorithm, his highest age ranked group is between 35, 40, and 54. Maybe a little higher. I forgot exactly what the age group is. But I can assure you, majority of Vinny's people are my age. Majority of Vinny's people have watched him on court TV all of these years. If you look at the guests that he brings on, they're all in the same age range. lawyers, even Nancy Grace, same thing. The people she brings on, same age range, between like, I would say 48 and like 60. That is the general age of who watches this side of YouTube and the lawyers of YouTube. If you transfer that to juries, the average age of juries are that exact same age. That tells me that these jurors are Vinny fans. These jurors are Nancy Grace fans. These jurors, because people, let me just put it like this, people that don't want to serve jury duty. People try very hard to get out of jury duty for multiple reasons. They can't afford it. They don't like true crime. There's a lot of stuff. People that want to serve on juries know about true crime. There are a selected few that do it for, the goodness of their heart, and they are serving justice. But honestly, the odds are that people that serve on juries know about true crime. They watch true crime. They understand true crime. They're interested in true crime. That's why they want to be on a jury. I want to be on a jury. I've never been served. And that goes into a lot of stuff I was reading about, but that's a whole nother conversation. So I started thinking that all of these jurors that are all in the same age range, just out of curiosity, might turn on Lawyer might turn on Vinnie Politan, might turn on Nancy Grace, might turn on Emily Baker, because the odds of a juror watching them are pretty high. Even before the case starts, it's pretty fucking high. So, a juror is jury of our peers. So if you're going to tell me that during Johnny Depp, Emily D. Baker pulled in 200,000-300,000 people every single live, all you need is one of them to be called for jury duty. The odds that someone watching her was called for jury duty was pretty high. And that's how all these lawyers are. So when people talk about harming cases, I really believe that Lawtubers are destroying cases and destroying jury pools, because they no longer are here to talk about the law. They're no different than tragedy pimps in the sense that they're there to make money. They're doing it to make money. Now, lawyer, I'll give more leeway to him and even Emily, because they both read comments that aren't just super chats. But I've noticed lawyer, is starting to go that way, that he'll only read super chats. Vinnie Politan absolutely will not read anything if it's not a super chat, and he's making tons of money. So, and I know he's watching chat because he said something about it, but he won't acknowledge you unless you pay him. Okay. But he is hurting a jury. Him getting his opinion about Karen Reed, which I'm going to talk about. When I give my opinions, or you give your opinions on Karen Reed, who the fuck cares? We're nobody. We don't even live in the state of Massachusetts. But when someone like Vinnie, Emily Baker, lawyer, are giving professional opinions about them, think about it. Wouldn't you be more apt to listen to Lawyer You Know than you would Dolly Vision? Of course you would. AMAC, but it doesn't. And I agree with you if that's what they were doing, but they're not. They're not doing that. They're giving opinions. They're not explaining the law without opinions. And their opinions hold heavy, heavy weight. When I hear people say how Dolly Vision or a tragedy pimp or this or that or this or that, and they're hurting cases, you have to question that, because no, Vinnie Politan is hurting a case far more than Dolly ever could. Lawyer You Know, Emily Baker are actually hurting jury pools more than any tragedy pimp possibly could. Why? Because people respect them. People like them. People understand their opinions, and they say, hey, here's a lawyer. He knows what he's talking about. I'm going to listen to him. If Vinnie Politan says this guy is corrupt, well, hell damn, this guy's corrupt. If Vinnie Politan turned around and said Chris and Katie Proudfoot are guilty, you would have the whole world, everyone in true crime saying they must be guilty. So, and Vinnie was a lawyer too. Vinnie isn't just like a news reporter. He was an attorney, or I know he's got his bar, or had his bar. Just like journalists in today's society, media is not unbiased unless you go to PBS. Stearns back to the Reagan years. Before then, they needed to be neutral. Exactly. They do hold more weight. I'm going to trust something Emily D. Baker says more than I would a tragedy pimp. I'm certainly going to listen to, oh, absolutely, Pecan. Abso-fucking-lutely, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. And they hold more weight, and people listen to them more, and people believe in what they're saying, and people like who they are. But that's also going to transfer to a juror. That's also going to transfer to someone being called for jury duty that says, well, Vinnie Politan said this guy's guilty. Vinnie Politan said this guy is going to have problems. Now, Vinnie did a good job today explaining what happened on Karen Reed's trial today. Now, he summed it up in a way better than I could. But he summed it up in a way implying that this guy was lying through his teeth. And he was. He was implying that what happened today was so wrong. He was implying that this whole thing is corruption and the superiors are corrupt. And that's what got me thinking about this. Because just because, now literally, just because they've sent text messages doesn't mean that Karen Reed didn't kill him. Now, mind you, I don't believe she's guilty, but I'm just saying, if we're going to play devil's advocate, that's not my interpretation. That's facts. I looked it up. if you look at the way he worded it very, very clearly that this is corruption. The only thing that happened is that this lead detective was completely unprofessional. All of that doesn't change the fact if she's guilty or not. If she was guilty, it doesn't matter what text messages the lead detective sent. But Vinny, without saying that, which he should have said that if she is guilty, it doesn't matter. But he made his audience feel that that was such corruption that there's no possible way she could be guilty. That was what he implied. And from someone that believes that Karen is innocent, even I took it that way. I took it as, thank you, little Susie. I took it as he's saying everything that I believe, which is she's absolutely innocent. But he's got way more pull than I do. He's got way more influence than most of us. Thank you, Yarn. Everyone, thank Yarn for membership. Thank you so much, Yarn. I definitely appreciate it. 100%. Hey, Grandma Rose, I was thinking about you. I saw your email that you were trying to call me about a candle, and I know I forgot to call you back. And I just saw the email again yesterday. I was like, oh my God, I forgot about Grandma Rose. Pecan, that's not true. Her and the lawyers did not come out and say they did it. But either way, point being is that if whether she's guilty or not, the fact that the lawyers are shady doesn't change what if she's guilty. So that's where I'm kind of like, the fact that he didn't add to this and he didn't say, but even if they are shady, he's still guilty. I was very surprised. Very surprised. Absolutely. You are totally going to listen to a lawyer more. I'm going to listen to Vinny more. If I'm listening to Vinny or I'm listening to T-Rev, who am I going to listen to more? Who am I going to take more? They could say the exact same things. And I bet if he did a social experiment and Vinny lied, as a matter of fact, we don't even need to do a social experiment. We did. Chris McDouchebag. Chris McDonough lied to everybody. And I sat there screaming at everyone, he's lying. He's totally lying. And nobody believed me except my people. People were coming over and yelling at me, telling me I'm so wrong and that I don't know what I'm talking about. Meanwhile, I was 100% right. But because it's Chris McDonough, everybody believed him. And everyone said I was full of shit. And meanwhile, I was the one telling the truth. So people will look at your background and automatically think that you know what you're talking about because of your background. And I think a lot of these police, a lot of these ex-cops, I think a lot of these lawyers are all using that to their advantage. And they know that people are going to listen. They know that people are going to believe them just because they are who they are. I sure did, Yarn. So, just like I called out Kathleen Zellner, I said, she ain't going to do shit. And a lot of people thought I was crazy. A lot of people didn't believe me. A lot of people said, all this work into making a murderer, unsub, unsub, unsub. I lost tons of people from that. But 7 years later, I haven't been proven wrong yet. So I don't know. I have a good instinct about people. I just kind of know. So that's why when I was listening to Vinny, and he didn't change his point of view. And he really led people to believe that these cops are this corrupt, and corruption is so huge, and this is such a big thing, and it could, taint the case and everything else. Lawyer, I watched some of his, same thing. Lawyer, I had 27,000 people. Vinny had 25,000 people watching. That's 50,000 people right there. Just right there. And 50,000 people. One of them knows a juror. One of them is on a jury pool in any state. Karen retrial is huge, huge. And the only people talking about it, for the most part, Glera and law YouTubers. Because by the time it comes back to us, nobody's interested. They'd rather hear from the YouTubers. I see it on Dietz's channel. So it's like the law YouTubers have taken over high profile cases right now, which is not good. It's truly not good. Law and Crime reports a trial. They don't give opinions. They just report a trial. I actually really enjoy Law and Crime, besides 10 to Life, which I don't watch. But a lot of their segments with that guy, that girl, they're really good. Like, they really, talk about some great cases. I don't know the names of the people that host them, but they have some really good shows. But never once do they give an opinion, ever. But these Lawtubers covering these high-profile cases throughout the world, throughout the country, covering the hottest, highest profile cases, in my opinion, are doing 10 times more damage to these cases than any tragedy pimp possibly could. Any tragedy pimp. No, Pecan. But nobody will call them out. But they really are doing way more damage. Pecan, what I will say is I saw that you had to give a PayPal in order to get a link to watch a video. That turned me off. I don't know what that was, but that was weird. I was like, really, Glera? All right. So I dropped a link for anyone that has opinions on it. Because I would love to hear other people's opinions. I just thought it was really interesting. And there's a lot that goes into jury selection that I did not even realize. Like, there's huge studies about it. Oh, I agree with you, Yarn. Huge studies about it. It's crazy. Oh, man. Hold on. Trying to pin it. Sweetie Pie, you don't think it's covered to death? I have given my opinion on it, though. I always said that I don't like Seth. I don't know if Chris and Katie are guilty or not. But as of right now, they're innocent. I live in the state of Massachusetts and no one cares. not saying the officer lost his life. People didn't feel bad at the time it happened, but Karen Reed is big in her mind. I don't know. You watch BHB? Sweetie Pie, if nobody comes up to talk about my opinion, we could talk about the case. Because I want to see this interview that Betty did. If Yarn says it's interesting, I'm shocked. That means like I got to watch it. Because I can't. Yarn watching Betty is like Yarn watching like Molly. Like that just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? That just doesn't happen. God, I don't go live and now she goes over to, she watches Betty? Dang. We're in trouble now. So nobody wants to come up and give an opinion on what I said? All right, you're all making me turn to Betty. You're all making me turn to Betty. Hey, Janessa. That's exactly, you can't get unbiased jurors. You absolutely can't. The neighbor is the leader of the Facebook group. She's been talking on Facebook the whole time. Marsha had health issues for a long time. She did. Well, we're about to, little Susie. Because like I said, if Yarn watched her, whoa. All right, hold on. All right. Johnny, I hear you on that. See, but this is why people discuss the same cases over and over and over, because that's what people want. I'm trying to discuss something new and nobody wants to come up and talk about it. People want me to talk about Sebastian. That's why people talk about Sebastian. Bullhorn Betty. Yep. Bullhorn Betty is on Starstat. Why? It says Bullhorn Betty net worth. Why? Did you put herself on Starstat? What? No way. Hold on. It's saying Bullhorn Betty's net worth of her channel is $30,000. Get the fuck out of here. Hold on. I want to see if mine's up there. Okay, I come up as a porn site. I didn't even come up. I don't come up. Damn, I'm not even on Google anymore. Nope. I don't even come up. I'm a nobody. That's bad. All right, let's go back to Bullhorn Betty. Yeah, I don't come up at all. Actually, it's not such a bad thing. All right, Bullhorn Betty. Sebastian arrived your neighbors. All right. All right, this is a 4-hour stream. Let's see. Oh, she has JLR's interview. It's not her interview, it's JLR's interview. Oh, hold on. All right. JLR did the interview last night. It's only like an hour. Yeah, I know. JLR, Betty played JLR's interview, though. Hang on. Whoop. So now BHB and QB do the same content. You choose the upside down world. Do that. I haven't watched Queen Bee in forever. Come on. I knew I should have started my computer.
Honest with you. I honestly believe that what she was saying was truthful in a lot of sense, because she didn't really just go in with all of the information that was just being peddled out there. Like this creator was asking her whether or not she had witnessed the mattress in the garage, and of course, like she said, we've
Does Betty live in like 1920? Her chair is like from the 70s. Her fridge and oven are from the 70s. She needs to update. Just saying.
witnessed the mattress in the garage. The mattress in the garage is probably one standing up on its side. I remember when like one of my first bed was the not laid down like somebody's sleep. Creator just kind of doesn't really give a whole lot of commentary. Little places in that first 20 minutes. I didn't hear the entire thing, so we'll be hearing that, and you'll be getting my authentic commentary on at least the first 20 minutes of this interview.
Peacock, I don't even know who Tony is. Like, I've heard the name, but I've never watched one video from him. I have no idea who he is.
But without further ado, we're going to jump right in and start breaking this down. Some key information.
That's what I'm saying. Like, her kitchen is so old. Like, it's lanolin countertop. Like, dude, this shit is old. And your chair makes it worse. I bet she has like a red and white plaid tablecloth.
Information that goes to what I'm looking at was in here. It did some of this stuff. It did help fill in the blanks. And of course, this is going to be one of those interviews we're going to want to review several times, because I know that there's going to be something pulled out of it each and every time that we review it. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get moving so we can get, this is a long interview. We're going to be here for a little minute.
Well, I don't know that I was in your group from day one. I was in another group from, well, not really even, honestly, day one was such a trauma, just dramatic day that I don't even think, the only thing I was in on day one was our neighborhood group, because that's where Katie had first commented about him being gone. So no.
So we have a group, a neighborhood group. If anybody is in.
Okay, should I switch over and just play it from JLR? Because I don't want to hear Betty shit. Hold on. Let me switch over to JLR. Betty's commentary about as good as her counterparts. I don't see it on JLR's channel. All right, here it is. All right.
Bobby, who is a neighbor of the Proudfoots. I'm going to bring her right in right now. We're going to talk to a neighbor of Christopher and Katie Proudfoot. So she pops in. There she is. Welcome aboard, Miss Bobby. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on JLR Investigates. A lot of people were in the chat because no one ever really heard from a neighbor, Miss Bobby.
Now you're gonna make me want to run.
You know, I just figured out one of the things I don't like about him. He talks to everybody like it's a Mr. Rogers episode, and he talks to everybody like they're fucking idiots and like they're two. That's what I don't like. It's one of the biggest reasons I hate watching him.
Yeah, well, I've kind of kept myself, we're all kind of hidden.
Yeah, I mean, you're active in the Sebastian groups. You do talk, you do share, you share a lot of insight. You've been there from day one, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know that I was in your group from day one. I was in another group from, well, not really even, honestly, day one was such a trauma, just dramatic day that I don't even think, the only thing I was in on day one was our neighborhood group, because that's where Katie had first commented about him being gone. So no, actually I wasn't in any Facebook groups day one. It was such a crazy moment. So probably.
Yeah, when you say Katie commented, what do you mean by that? She joined a neighborhood group?
Well, so I'm an admin of our private neighborhood group, and she created a post.
All right, here's an honest question. Is JLR promoting his stuff, or is he that narcissistic that he just has to look at his own name in a mirror? What do you think?
I want to say around, I want to say 7:30 maybe ish, 7:30 that morning, Monday morning, simply just saying my son is missing, and kind of comment.
Look, I've said it before and I said it again. People believe that JLR has changed or is a good person because he has over 200,000 subscribers. JLR is the same piece of shit he's always been. Please don't ever think differently. If you watch his face, he doesn't give two shits what this girl is saying at all. He could care less. He trolls his own groups. Just please do not give him any, like, you could like him, but most people like him because they think he's so great with 200,000 subs. He's still the same piece of shit he always was.
Commented on a little bit about him. Like, I think she made the comment about how tall he was, and that he was autistic and he was missing. Please check your cameras. It was just like a 2-liner, just real quick, shooting it out there.
So like maybe like an
That's-
hour and a half, hour something after she and Chris that we found out that they called and reported Sebastian missing.
Correct. It was, yes, because I think that from what I understood, she called around 6:30 that morning, I think. Was it about 6:30, I think is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chris
So
said-
yeah, it was. And I think from what another neighbor said, that she actually caught her SUV leaving the neighborhood right before that, or right after that. And so it was, she did all that and then came back, and then I guess that's when she put it on the Facebook page. But I also remember what I thought was very odd was shortly before that, another neighbor. So if their house is here, if you're going up Stafford, a little bit farther up Stafford, was actually the first one to ask, hey, what's all going on in the neighborhood? Because my older son left to go to work that morning, approximately 8 o'clock, and there was already police all up and down Stafford, like just covering it. And they were already out walking around and stuff. And so I don't know, I guess she saw some of that traffic as she was leaving to go to work, and she posted first on the Facebook page. And then Katie, after that, is when she posted, and I went back to find that, and that previous neighbor deleted her post.
What about Katie's post?
I don't know. No, the original post, the first post.
Yeah. It's no longer
the neighbor
there.
It's gone. She had to have deleted it, because you can't, if you're not the creator of the post, you can't delete someone else's post. They have to delete it. But when I went back a couple weeks after everything happened and things kind of calmed down a little bit, I was talking to somebody else, and I was like, I remember, didn't such and such make the post first? And this is a neighbor down the street from me, and she said, yeah, I remember that. And I was like, I wonder what the time frame was different. And I went back to look, and it was gone. So the original neighbor that very first posted asking what was all the commotion going on. And I still wonder if that's why Katie posted that. But then Chris, it was like 2 or 3 neighbors after. So Katie posted her comment or her post, and then several people commented after. I didn't see anything. Because she was asking, like, everybody check their cameras. I didn't see anything. And then Chris posted underneath that and simply said something like, yeah, my son's missing. That was it.
Oh. So what did it say, like, where the post was originating from, or was Chris around the neighborhood by then?
Okay, so I have twins, and when we first heard about everything, they jumped up and went running out of the house and went across the street down to where they live, and they walked over because they wanted to be a part of helping, look for him. And they weren't over there, and Chris was not there yet. So Seth was in the 8:30.
8:30, okay.
8:20 ish. Yeah, because my oldest son had already left for work. He left about 8. Then my twins, when I got the phone call from the neighbor very nearby them, that is a good friend of mine, about 8:15, 8:20 that morning, asking if I had heard what would happen, and I had not yet, because I hadn't gotten going for the day yet. And then when my son texted me, I didn't answer, so he called my other boys' phone and asked them, hey, do y'all see what's going on? And they came around my room and said, hey, Mom, did you hear what happened? I was like, wait, what? What's going on? My phone's ringing. You guys are running in here. Like, what is happening here? And my neighbor was on the phone calling me. And so as soon as I heard the neighbor tell me the story, what happened, they went running out the door and went over there to kind of help, with the search and stuff. And they said that they saw Seth and Katie in the front yard and of course they didn't know the names back then. They just knew, like, now that
we're 7 minutes in. This girl hasn't stopped talking, and I couldn't tell you one thing she said. She's just rambling absolute nothings. Like, none of this even matters.
seen pictures, they go back and say, yeah, it was Seth and Katie and Kathy Bowersox and a bunch of other police, law enforcement and stuff like that. But Chris was not there yet.
Interesting.
Well,
Now,
he wasn't there then.
Now, where do you live relative to the Proudfoots?
I live at the very top of the hill on Kellen.
So the next street, the street that turns into Stafford.
The main street.
Main street coming in. So just basically what you're now going back to Katie, like what you know or what you heard. When was Katie driving around in her SUV? Like a time frame? Like when do you think she was driving around in her SUV looking for Sebastian, like she claims?
Right. So there's so many different things here because the neighbor that I actually spoke with, that I'm friends with, she's the one that has the camera on the corner of Stafford and Kellen. And I'm not going to mention her name, but she's the one that the camera footage got leaked without her knowledge and her permission that everybody has seen. But I've directly spoken with her. And then I also have directly spoken with a couple other neighbors that live very close to the Proudfoot's house. And the neighbor that I spoke with the very first time that morning, she said that when she was taking her kids to school, Katie was already back from looking. She had just got back from looking, and the kids have to be in school at 7:30. And so she normally leaves the house at 7 to take her kids to school. But Katie was already back and in the front yard, and all the cops and stuff were there. So she stopped for a minute to talk to her, took her to school. My neighbor that had the camera footage told me that her timeline is not working correctly. But when she puts it all together with the sunrise and then the bus coming through and all of that, she said it was approximately about 6 o'clock, 6:15, 6:20. It was right in between supposedly when she discovered him missing, supposedly.
Adacor, I do agree with that he does it without shit talking other channels, 100%. But what people don't realize what JLR does, like Crystal said, 70% of creators' content comes from his Facebook groups. He lies on his Facebook groups to start drama so other people talk about it. That's what people don't realize he does. He did it throughout Chris Watts. He's done it through everything. So he puts out fake info just to get people talking and people listen to him. That's the problem. He likes starting fires.
She gets up, she runs around the house, she gets dressed, and she drives out of the neighborhood and that kind of thing and goes looking for him. But I know the neighbor next, if you're looking at the Proudfoot's house on the left, when she went running out of her house hysterical, the neighbor next to her was already out. Of course, everybody's getting up, getting ready for work, getting kids ready for school. Bus comes 6:45, 6:50-ish. 6:45, 6:50. It's been a long time since my kids have ridden the bus, so I have to really think about that one. But it's definitely before 7 because the kids have to be in school in class by 7:30. And we're the last pick up before he actually goes to school because we're right next to the school. So everybody was getting up and getting ready for work and everything. So she actually saw her out. And she asked her what was going on, and she told her. And so she actually walked around the house and was helping her look around the house. So she was already back from looking around 7.
Interesting. When she left to go look for Sebastian, I know that if you turn right going out of the Proudfoot, you go up the top of the hill, it's a cul-de-sac, or you go around and you can go up your street all the way at the back where the construction is. Did she, before she ventured out of the neighborhood, did she go up those roads do you know of to look?
Did she go up my road?
Your road or her road itself to the top of the cul-de-sac? Where
the
her
only
road
thing
ends.
I was right. So the only thing I was told, of course, we nobody in my house was up or out yet, so I can't verify that because we weren't out yet. But the neighbor that told me that she saw her SUV drive across her driveway saw her leave.
Like
so
leave out
that's right.
That's interesting.
So
you would think that maybe you stay in the neighborhood a little bit and go up and down your own streets. looking
Well,
around.
that was when she went. That was when she went to the school, thinking that he had walked to the school on his own. Which I don't know why. He's never done that before. So why would he? Why would he do that? I mean, like, why would he just walk to school by himself? Plus, he had no shoes on, supposedly. So, like, why would he walk to school by himself? So, but that's what I was told, that she actually walked around her house outside, didn't find him. So she got in her car and drove to the school.
And was back by 7. Around that time.
At least probably actually before that.
Yeah. Does Sebastian, did he take the bus to school, or did Katie take him in her car?
From what the neighbor, from what the neighbors, of course, I don't have kids that ride the bus anymore. But from what the neighbor nearby said, that he did ride the bus. Now, the neighbor on the corner that has a surveillance camera said that there is a special bus that comes for certain kids that have special needs and whatever. And she said, I don't think he gets on that bus. I think he gets on the other bus. So that was what I was told. I can't verify that, so I can't answer that appropriately.
Got you. So we're talking all law enforcement, all there, starting to descend onto the area, 8 a.m.-ish, right? 8 a.m.-ish.
Well, they were there before that. They were already there.
All right. My one question is, can anyone confirm she didn't go driving up and down the streets? She only went to the school and back? That's shady. Why wouldn't she drive up and down the streets? So if anyone can confirm that, let me know.
There, and cars parked. By the time when my son went to work at 8, they were already there and already clumped up together and starting to talk, because they were already in the front yard talking to them. So they were, I don't know exact. I mean, I would say probably it was even before. I mean, they were probably there. I'm trying to remember what she said when she got ready to leave. She never said anything. The neighbor that called me and told me about it never mentioned law enforcement being there. She just said that Katie was outside walking around, upset and everything. And she asked her, like, what's going on? But she didn't specify if there were law enforcement there, but they were already there and out of their cars and in the front yard at 8 o'clock. So they had to have been there before.
No, what I'm asking, is that like a fact that I missed somewhere? Because I don't remember ever hearing that. Now, I'm not a diehard follower of the case. There's a lot of things I probably don't know, but I don't remember ever hearing that she only drove to the school and back. So I'm just wondering if I missed something or what.
For that.
Gotcha. Any idea when Seth got there?
No, but I do know that he was there by the time my kids went over there, like I said, which was about 8:30. He was already there. And I also know that his truck was there, like off and on the whole time.
Gotcha.
But I don't know what time exactly.
So what happens to, just explain to everybody, then what did law enforcement do at that point, like throughout the morning? Once they all arrived there, did more and more law enforcement come, or was there certain?
I told my neighbor down the street, I said, I didn't even know we had these agencies. I mean, like, I've never in my life ever seen such a response. It was overwhelming. It was like, it kind of freaked me out. Like, oh my God, I feel like I'm living in a real life, like, drama crime scene. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. The very first that came out was the sheriff's department, because we live in the county. So sheriff's department respond first, because we're not part of the city. So they came out first, and they literally walked all up and down and around and everything. And then they came door to door and asked everybody, who all had cameras and whatnot. What did you see? What do you know? Whatever. And then it was, now, of course, I'm having to really go back in my head. It's been a little while. It was later on that afternoon, they brought some dogs in, and they started walking around. They came around the houses and asked everybody to walk around their own property, look underneath stuff, in anything that's unlocked. So all of us up and down my street, everybody, my neighbors came out with me. She and I walked together, walked all up and down our yards, all across the street, up and through the cul-de-sac, down the street a little bit. There's a barbed wire fence behind us as of right now where the new construction is, so you can't get over that, but we could walk around it. And so we both walked up and around that, just looked everywhere that was kind of close by. And then I noticed that they had the drones up. And of course, the news was short. That was Tuesday. The news came out and was flying the helicopter around. It was chaotic. It was absolutely chaotic.
Did you see Seth and Katie out there looking? No.
Not in our neighborhood. Never.
Never seen
And
them walk around.
No. They were in their yard out, but never left their property. No. And I know for a fact because so Monday my kids were out with law enforcement, because at that point it was, we need all the neighbors come out, help us, look everywhere, whatever. So they were open to everybody coming in and help. So at that point, my kids jumped into one of those razor things and drove all up and through the property and stuff. And then my other one walked with the canine unit in the construction zone. He walked all the way through that. They literally, I had to call them at one point in time and tell them, y'all need to come home and have lunch. I mean, this is crazy. I know you want to help, but you got to come home and eat. And so then they came home, they ate, and then they went back out there, and they were out there with them all day Monday, all day Tuesday. And then, so Tuesday we had SWAT. That was the day we had the vigil. And it was interesting because we put out a post on the neighborhood group that we're having a vigil, and everybody's invited, but we want it to be just the neighborhood only, because we want it to be a private vigil just for our neighborhood and for the family. We were hoping if we made it more personal like that the family would come and they wouldn't be overwhelmed with all this. That was the other thing. Good God, the traffic. The second that it got out, we had tons of people just driving up and down the street, just looking and watching. I'm like, I don't know what you're going to do to help. We're flooded already with police. I don't know what outsiders coming in are going to do. I mean, it was chaotic as it was anyway, and now you got all these extra people coming out there, so it just got so chaotic. But so Tuesday night we planned the vigil, went down there, got in a big circle, introducing everybody, and there's neighbors. I don't want to get too personal here. There are neighbors. Actually, we have I think 2, maybe 3 sets of neighbors that are in law enforcement. They're in different counties. One of them is actually a part of Hendersonville Police, and then the other 2 are from other counties. They came to the vigil. And matter of fact, the one that is part of Hendersonville has been in a neighborhood since almost the beginning. Know them very well, good people. And he was down there with a flashlight because we had so many people driving up and down and around and circling and going up and down and circling and coming back and forth. And we're just like, good grief. The Proudfoot sent, I don't know who it was, but they came down and we were all introducing ourselves, and they introduced themselves as aunt and uncle.
The Proudfoots?
Don't have a
aunt and uncle?
Proudfoots. Apparently, I don't know if it was somebody's brother, or that's what they introduced themselves as. We are, maybe it was Sebastian's aunt and uncle.
Chris and
maybe
Katie
that's what it was.
Chris and Katie said they were their aunt and uncle?
Well, it wasn't. Chris and Katie didn't come. They sent family members, and when they introduced themselves as we're aunts and uncles.
Why
so
didn't
I guess
Chris,
Sebastian's aunt and uncle?
Why didn't Chris? Did Seth go?
No.
So no Seth. No Seth. No.
You know what I am actually a little surprised about, though? JLR is usually pretty good with interviews. Unless he wants somebody to keep talking, like he usually knows how to direct an interview. I don't see him doing that. I see him letting this lady talk a lot about nothing. And that's normally not like him. Unless he's trying to get somebody to, spill their guts about something. But this, hey, RoboCop, I just see him not directing or just letting her go on and on about absolutely nothing.
Profits, they basically sent their own representatives, family members that claim they ran.
That's correct. Yes.
I got 2 questions back on the first day. When do you know that Chris arrived home?
I did not, because I didn't know. I had never met them. They moved in and nobody knew them. Like, I still don't know anybody that really knows them. Like, nobody ever really knew them. And so
when did they move in? Do you know?
I think, well, so apparently it was a year and a half ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and they just stayed to themselves, and nobody really even knew them. I didn't even know that the original owners sold their house, and not because we don't, our neighborhood is just a real quiet neighborhood. Everybody kind of stays to themselves, except for, if you need something, or if a dog, a pet gets out, or if somebody goes on vacation, hey, will you watch my house, that kind of thing. But we don't really, unfortunately, I think everybody's just have busy lives and stuff, and we just don't know. I mean, like each neighbor knows the neighbor next to them. Like, I know all the neighbors around me, and I know a lot of their original neighbors that were there from day one, but I don't know the ones that have moved in over the past 5 years. And I think with COVID, that kind of messed everything up too.
Gotcha. Somebody put in the chat, what time does the trash get picked up in the morning?
That is the biggest misconception. Here we go with the whole light thing, right? This is where we're going. So
one more thing first. The very first day, the dogs. You saw dogs out there. You saw.
Oh yes,
did you
absolutely.
See them going a specific direction or area? Did you see them centered around a certain area, or did they pick up any scent?
Okay, so there was no scent that was picked up from their house to anywhere. However, and my kids were with the handler and the canine, and actually watched. He followed them all through the construction zone. And one of my kids actually saw one of the dogs take the handler to one of the retention ponds. And not only did he go to the retention pond, he ran to it and jumped in it. And the handler had to go and get him and take him out of the water and then dry him off. And my son looked over the handler and said, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like that before." He looked at me and said, "He's never done that before." And my son said, "Why did he just jump in that?" He said he was following a scent. And then the other
on that, did they go in the water? Did they stake scuba divers or anything in there?
Supposedly, when I told Seth that when I met him at the most recent vigil, he said they drained the pond twice and nothing. But not only did I see that, but when on day 3, I think it was Wednesday, when National Guard came through and they had their dogs. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They were all up and down through the neighborhood. That's why when everybody said, the police aren't doing enough, I have some of my own personal thoughts about that, but I will tell you right now, we had we had the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, we had Hendersonville Police, we had state troopers, we had National Guard, we had drones, we had helicopters, we had canines, we had 2 sets of different canines and the National Guard.
Yeah, but Pecan, a lot of times a neighbor isn't considered like the public. And I don't doubt that a canine would take an adult kid who's a neighbor. Like, maybe there's a path that only a neighbor would know, or a back path that a neighbor would know. I don't think the neighbor would be considered the general public. That's just a guess.
Brought theirs. So we were flooded. Um, okay, so back to the whole dog.
Let's do the trash, because the trash is what everyone is like curious about. The time the trash picks up, and then in reference to the lights, we're going to talk about the 3 a.m., 3:10 a.m. lights.
Hey, check it out. Not only does he transport himself all over the country, but he's highlighting comments and he's not even using his hands. He's like telepathically highlighting comments.
Talk about the trash. What do you know?
So our trash gets picked up by J.E. McMurtry Disposal, has for many, many, many years. They used to, a few years back, they would pick up around 6:30ish, but then the bus was coming through and it was making it hard for them to come through with the bus, and all the kids were out and it was just chaotic. So they switched it, and now they go down my street about 5:30, 5-ish, between 5:15ish, 5:20, something like that, every Monday morning. That's going down my hill, though. That's not when they come in and they're going around it. That's when they're coming back down. So, yeah.
I mean, that's an extra, 20 minutes? How long does it take for the trash truck guy to go through the whole entire neighborhood?
And the other misconception is a lot of people are saying that they have to hand dump the trash bin in there. They don't. It's a new truck. They have an arm and it does it for them. So that was another thing where they're having to pick up these big. No, they're not. They have an arm. They roll it over to the arm, connect it to the arm, and they dump it in. You can hear it. I mean, it's not quiet. It's loud. I mean, you can hear the arm doing all that. So by the time they collect the trash coming up the street, though, not going down it. They're collecting it as they come up. So I guess they're probably in the neighborhood just like around 5, just before 5.
And they're out of there before the buses come.
Yes.
Or the bus comes, or
Absolutely.
You said buses. Where's trash go?
Oh, it gets dumped in either Nashville or Gallatin. If Nashville is full, they'll temporarily dump it to Gallatin, and then once I guess Nashville gets finished.
All right, I'm going to start a poll. I got a question for you guys. Based on what she just said.
Whatever, then they'll transport to Nashville. The big misconception was that the neighborhood behind us, they get picked up by a different company on Tuesdays. So that's a whole different thing.
Is that construction development you're talking about?
Well, that was the dumpster that everybody was asking about. How is it possible that, whatever, that the dog hit over there as well? The second dog that was out walking hit also by the trash dumpster. And the trash dumpster owner found that out when law enforcement told him.
Is that me or him?
That we got a hit by the dumpster. The owner of the dumpster called them back and said, okay, we dumped our trash on this certain day.
Hey, are we still here? Still here? Whoop. All right. Sorry about that. My computer froze. Like everything went black. So I had to restart. But I knew I should have restarted my computer prior. All right, let's go back to that. But first, let me do this poll real quick that shut down my computer, but hold on. I had so many windows open and I was doing like so many different things. Hold on. Nope. All right. See, here's my poll. Hold on. All right. There's the poll. And let me pull up JLR. All right. Okay. So if you don't understand the poll, she had said that she knew exactly what dumpsters the trash gets taken to. I don't think that's a normal thing that most people know where the dumpsters are that their trash gets taken to. I don't know. I've never known. So I don't know if that's something that most people know or most homeowners might know, but I don't know. I've never heard exactly, Yarn. That's what I'm saying. Like, I have no idea where the trash goes to. Your hubby told you? Well, where does your garbage go? It's got to go somewhere. I don't know. I just didn't know if most people knew that or not. I've never known. But I'm not a homeowner. I've always rented.
Owner found that out when law enforcement told him that we got a hit by the dumpster. The owner of the dumpster called them back and said, okay, we dumped our trash on this certain day, Tuesday, whatever, on that certain day in Kentucky. So go, you guys need to go and get a warrant, obviously. And he gave them permission to go search the Kentucky dumpster or landfill. So that's why they went to Kentucky. And then I was told that they also checked Gallatin and Nashville as well.
That night, Katie claims the night of the 25th that Sebastian takes the trash out after they arrived home from going out to dinner. Go ahead.
There's no specific footage of that. The neighbor that has the Ring door camera that saw that, she said to me on the phone that the only thing you can see is a silhouette. She said you cannot see a physical person. There is absolutely no physical proof of Sebastian being at their house that night after dinner. There's nothing. There's her car coming home. My neighbor did tell me that she saw her car come, but she parks in the garage. So nobody saw him get out of the car.
What time was that? I always want to know what time she arrived home. Do you know?
I asked, and she said that it was so dark that she couldn't really see. She saw about 6 or so, I think is what she said, ish, because they went to dinner at Texas and then supposedly came home, and then her car came into the driveway around 6, and then somebody pulled the trash bin out, after that. But they don't know who it was because you can't tell.
So no evidence. Any neighbor, including yourself, or because you all talk, the neighbors talk to everybody and say there's nothing to indicate that he was home that night. He got home that night.
There's no proof of that. Nobody ever saw him come home, or really, I mean, I don't even know if anybody can say they saw him leave with her. I mean, no, I don't think anybody actually looked back that far. It was so chaotic at the very beginning. I think the police were so focused on a runaway teen that was what everybody was focused on. So when they first asked to look at their video cameras, I think everybody was checking actual of him walking out, but there's no proof of him physically walking out. And then it was, okay, are there any cars around there? And so going back to the whole light thing, I was told that there was an unidentified car sitting on my street facing the entrance somewhere around 3:30 or so. And then the flashlights were actually seen on the neighbor's camera, 2 separate flashlights walking in between the yards, which the trash truck does not do. They don't need to. All of the trash is at the curb. They have never, ever gone. Matter of fact, when you sign up for services, they tell you in the email their rules and regulations. If your trash is not by the curb, they don't take it. Unless, you're an elderly person, you ask them. If your trash is like in the front of your house and you ask them, they'll come and get it like that, but they won't come around the back or in between houses. That's bull monarchy. That is not how that works.
No track. You don't believe those 3:10 a.m. lights were around 3:10 after 3 a.m. were trash truck lights.
Not only do I not believe it, but the neighbor that has the actual footage swore up and down that there are 2 different circumstances. There was the car with the lights coming towards the car backed up on Kellen and left. And then about 2-ish hours, hour and a half, hour and 42 something, they're like she said, the time stamp on the video is not working. It is stuck. She said, but you can tell because it's pitch black dark in the middle of the night when the car comes down the street, turns onto Stafford, sits there for about 3 to 5 minutes. The flashlights are coming from 2 different directions in between the yards. They do whatever they're doing around the car. The car backs up Kellen and leaves from Stafford. I'm sorry, backs up Kellen and leaves. And then 2 or so hours later, as the sun is just beginning to come up, you can see the trash truck. And she said, but the trash truck goes past her driveway. She said, you can see the trash truck and the lights and the back of the truck go past.
See, but that's very interesting, though, because that confirms that he was taken by somebody, or that leads you to believe that he was taken by somebody. That doesn't sound like he was, kidnapped by Katie and killed by Katie. That's further escalating the fact that he was taken. But the only hole in that story is that there was no scent of him leaving the house. So how is there no scent of him leaving the house? But aren't they all nervous that 2 people walking around with flashlights at 3 o'clock in the morning in between the houses? I would say that's kind of scary.
Past her driveway, go up the hill, do its business, turn around, come back down, and then within a few minutes later, the sun is coming up, and then you can see Katie's car leave, Katie's car coming back, and then you can see all the police come in. She said it's very obvious. So I asked her why the police are saying that that's trash truck, and she said, I don't know. I'm baffled because I tell you right now, there are 2 different circumstances, and that you can tell there are 2 different time frames.
Wow. Wow. Because we've heard from Seth Rogers, and Seth is adamant that he was told or he's seen
That's because LE has told him that.
What's up with that?
Because LE has told him that. Law enforcement has told him that.
Why?
That's the question I asked. When I called, I got I think all of us are just super frustrated as this continues to go on, that we don't understand what's happened. We don't know what's happened. You know, we've all been involved in trying to find him day one. We've spread it. We've shared it on social media. You know, a lot of us were out with law enforcement the first week or so, you know, looking for him and stuff. I mean, you know, this shook us up to the core. It flipped our neighborhood upside down and just shook us up. I mean, nobody left their house for 2 weeks. Even the families who walk their dogs every single day, we didn't see them for 2 weeks.
Why?
So,
why?
yeah, I mean, we didn't know what was going on. We had no idea what happened. I mean, when you have a 15-year-old kid that just vanishes in thin air, nobody wants to leave. We're scared. And then, of course, you see Chris, you know, getting upset through all these YouTube videos. And if you know your neighbor is that upset and threatening people and saying the things he's saying, you're not going to go be a part of that. You're going to stay in your little cocoon and stay away from them. And I mean, lock your doors and be by yourself and protect yourself and just stay away from it.
You've never seen Sebastian Rogers in the neighborhood or walking around or anything prior to that day? Nothing.
From what I understand from neighbors that live right close to him, the only time they ever saw him come out was when he was playing with the dogs. The dogs would get out, and you know, he'd be out there for a little while, but nobody ever really knew him.
Nobody knew any of them.
He never came out to play with neighborhood kids. You never saw him out riding his bike. I mean, now I'll tell you this. I mean, we have neighbors that go out, like I said, and walk their dogs every single day, sometimes even twice a day. You have kids that will go out and play basketball. We have a basketball goal in one of the cul-de-sacs. Kids will come up and play basketball in the basketball goal.
Let me just point out, I've been living in this house for 7 years. I don't think one neighbor could tell you my kids' names. I couldn't tell you any of my neighbors. Well, actually, one neighbor plays football with Dayton. But for the most part, we don't know each other. My neighbor next door is moving again. That's 9 people in 7 years.
They'll walk, you know, ride their bike. We have a one kid that has a four-wheeler and a dirt bike, and he rides around, that kind of thing. Didn't even know Sebastian existed. Never played with anybody.
No friends, nothing.
Never had any friends over their house.
How long was, because I heard that Seth was there for a few days staying with the Proudfoots. Did you hear that?
I did. True? Well, I saw his, I didn't know he was staying in their house, but I saw his truck there every single day for, when I heard that he had stayed in their house for 3 days, I was shocked. I didn't realize he had actually stayed in the house and then they said 3 days. I was like, well, that's odd, because his truck was parked on the curb of the street for about a week. But I didn't know he was actually there, because he was out searching. Like, he was actually at the command center for the first week every day, all day long. Seth was.
Not Chris and Katie. Chris and Katie?
Oh, no. They never left their house.
Never.
Not that I'm
went
aware of.
with any flyers, go to door, you know, to speak with neighbors, ask them if they've seen anything. Nothing.
No.
Wow.
Nope.
That is so Miss Bobby. So do you?
And
go ahead.
I was just going to say, the only thing that they even put on Facebook was that one post,
which eventually got deleted.
Theirs didn't. The original neighbor that was asking, hey, what's all the commotion on Stafford? That person deleted their post.
Gotcha.
Katie's is still up there.
Were the Bauer Sox around at all during that week? Yeah, I know you said that they were there that morning. Did they look around? Did they look around?
No, we never saw anybody. None of them ever looked in our neighborhood where I'm at. I never seen any of them walking around at all, period, ever. Seth, Chris, Katie, Bowerstocks, none of them ever. I never even met them. I had one encounter with Chris one night. And after, I mean, never saw him, never met him, nothing.
Did Chris encounter you?
All right, let's be fair. How do you meet neighbors? 2 ways. One, you have children. You have little kids that you talk at a bus stop, and that's how you meet them. Or B, you walk a dog and your neighbors, hello, how's your dog, blah, blah, blah. Other than that, neighbors don't go running around door to door saying, hey, what's up? So if you are not walking a dog and you don't have little kids at a bus stop, which she said she doesn't, how is she going to meet people? If your kids aren't on a sports team, like there's just no reason for them to meet people. I don't meet my neighbors. I mean, I'll see them, I'll wave hi. I'll wave hi to them because my house is on a corner house and they all meet at the bus stop. But I don't go over to my neighbors and say, hey, what's up? Occasionally I get their mail and I'll bring it to the house. But other than that, I don't talk to them.
You mind sharing? I think we talked about this offline a little bit.
Yes, okay, so I'll kind of share a little bit of that. This was what day was it? Thursday, I think it was. I think it was Thursday, that Thursday night. Now, mind you, our neighborhood is on pins and needles. Don't know what happened to this kid. Don't understand. Law enforcement's, coming up and around. We've got every department that I didn't even know existed. Like I said, I didn't even know we had a SWAT team. I didn't know we had, drone footage. I didn't know we had any of this stuff. I mean, we're, a small county. I had no idea. Not a small county, but I mean, like we're away from like the big crowd, the city. Never had any issues. So I didn't even know that any of this stuff has existed. So we're all kind of on pins and needles. And so anything weird, let me go back a little bit and say the night before this is the reason why this happened. The night before this, I had went to work that night, I think.
Now, surprisingly enough, in New York, we all knew each other. I knew every one of my neighbors. My neighbors knew us, but we were little kids there. We grew up there.
I did something. I wasn't home for some reason. My son was on our back deck. Now, our back deck faces the construction, the top,
Gotcha.
the back of the construction. And so he was on the back deck talking to somebody, and he looks out and he says, well, that's really weird. And she said, what? And he said, look at the light out there. And there was a flashlight. It was kind of a dim flashlight, but you could see it because it's pitch black dark. And he said, why is there a flashlight over there? It was one single flashlight, and it was like walking in the back, kind of over in the back of the woods area. And it like walked around, stopped, walked around a little bit, stopped, and then just disappeared.
Okay. This is the problem with this community, which is why I have a very hard time with it. Zelda Paris writes, she is a wealth of information. She is? Please tell me what information she's actually told us, because I haven't heard anything worth a fuck. So maybe it's me. Maybe I'm jaded. Maybe I'm bitter. Maybe I'm just an asshole. But a wealth of information, I don't think she's told us anything we don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
In the back of the woods. And so he called me and he's like, what do I do? And I said, you need to call law enforcement. Like, call the number. We had a flyer, one of those flyers. And I was like, you need to call the TBI and tell them and figure out what to do with that. He did. And nothing. No phone call back. No, nothing. Just, okay, thanks for the letter. I'm like, okay, that's awfully weird. I mean, you would think that they would come check that out or call you back and ask you.
Yeah, follow-ups.
Nothing. No, they didn't even call him back to ask him, like, exactly where are you? What did you see? Nothing. Nobody ever followed up or nothing. And so he was like, that's really weird. And I was like, yeah, that is weird. I mean, with a missing kid, you would think they would be coming flying up here to figure out who that was. So it was the following night. So now, of course, we're all like, even more in pins and needles. Like, is people just going to just start walking around our neighborhood in the middle of the night?
Thank you so much, Tony. So appreciate it. See, Rhonda, here's my thing. If you're that worried about it, why not call the police? If I see a flashlight running around in my backyard, I don't care if there's a missing child or not. My first thought, I'm calling 911 and be like, yo, there's a strange light in the backyard. So please do something. Please come here and check it out. I wouldn't call TBI. You call the fucking police. 911 is there for a reason.
Like they were pitch black dark in the night. And so he was coming home. We were all at home and still looking around and talking to neighbors and figuring out like what the heck is going on. And he comes home and walks in the door and is like, Mom, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, now what? And he said, there's two people, a real tall, skinny guy and a real small, it looks like a girl maybe, that is walking up our street. Now, we do have families that will come out and walk their dogs at night before they go to bed, but they had no dog with them, no nothing. And the strangest part about this was this guy was wearing dark, black, wide, like ski goggles. You've been in my neighborhood. It is, you can't see your hand in
Oh my God, lady. So call 911.
front of your face. It is so dark at night. It was
Scary.
9 o'clock at night. Why is somebody walking with these big black goggles? How can they even see? Well, with everything going on, I'm thinking, okay, that's very suspicious. I got to check on that. Yes, I could have called law enforcement, and that's what was said. You should have called law enforcement. However, I didn't want to call law enforcement on my own neighbor. If it was a neighbor out walking around, I didn't want to be rude and call law enforcement on my neighbor. So I told my son, I said, you know what, let's go. He's got a Jeep that's got a bunch of lights on it. And I said, let's drive down there and turn your lights on and see if you can see somebody out there walking. I said, I'll call law enforcement and let them know what we're seeing, and then we'll just turn around and go back home. I wasn't going to follow them. I just wanted to see if I could find them. So we're driving down my road. We turn up Stafford because we couldn't find them. Like, well, maybe they went up Stafford. We went up Stafford. Now my son's Jeep is loud. And so but I didn't even think about it. I was more focused on who this person was. So he drives up Stafford and he says to me, hey, while we're up here, where's Sebastian's house? And I'm like, oh, we just passed it. So he turns around and goes back down, and we're going slowly because I was trying to point out Sebastian's house. And so I pointed it out, and he's like, oh, okay. And so we drive back around, and we're driving back down to the other side of the neighborhood. There's another cul-de-sac. And he said, wait a minute. Didn't you say that this other neighbor has a Ring camera? And I said, yes. And she's the one that saw the silhouette in the window and the lights in the house go on and off and whatever. She's like, but that doesn't make any sense, because if that house is located here, how can she have seen over here? And I'm like, okay, go back up the street and I'll show you. So we went back up the street to show him where that house was versus this and all the whole thing. And as we
Again, Zelda Paris. She's amazing. She's very articulate and has such great insight to the case. That sounds like JLR's girlfriend trolling. She really does. She sounds like JLR's girlfriend was trolling.
we were coming back up, we kind of stopped. Now, this is my neighborhood. I'm not a suspicious person. This is my neighborhood. I should be able to do whatever I want to, right? So I stop, or he stops a little bit. I'm pointing at our houses out, and we drive out, and I said, Sean, I said, honey, we got to go home. And he's like, why? And I said, because somebody's standing at their front door. He was like, oh, crap. And so, and I did not, God honest truth, I never meant to upset anybody. It was truly just me trying to figure out what's going on. Never meant to upset anybody. Turn around, Stafford. I'm coming back down, and Chris is now, mind you, I've never met this man, never seen him before. I wouldn't even know who he is. Matter of fact, I thought he was law enforcement. Stands in the middle of the street and puts his hand out and stops, just like this. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. And I'm thinking it's law enforcement. I'm like, oh crap, we're about.
Lee Bird in the comments section. Brittany, she lives too far away to know much or see much. 100%.
To get in trouble because they're going to think that we're looking for this kid or something. So roll down the window, and he comes around and he stands there just like this. Just like, what are you doing out here? And I'm like, holy crap. I said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We were looking for, and I told him what happened and told him the whole story. And he was like, why wouldn't you just call law enforcement? I said, because I don't want to call law enforcement on a neighbor. If they're out walking around, that's kind of rude. And he's like, well, you have no business driving around here, and started telling me in a very intimidating, very strong voice, I guess you would say, big, tough, he's a big guy, kind of thing. That my son is missing, and they've got police all around here looking. I said, yeah, no kidding. I know, I'm aware. I've been talking to him. Trust me.
Magnolia, you both do more than law enforcement. Appreciate your prestigious dedication to victims. Can I throw up now or later?
I know, I get it. And then he said, there's a police, the heat sensor mobile unit things, I'm talking about, that can detect heat sensor and stuff. Well, they had one of those up in the top, hoping that if he came home, it would alert law enforcement that there was somebody walking around, which I don't get that, because you've got families that are walking dogs anyway. So I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I kept apologizing to him, and he got really upset and, kind of said some things, and I was trying to calm him down, and I apologized. And my son's girlfriend was in the back, and she thought that if she rolled the window down and said, I am such and such, and I go to your son's school, that he would calm down. Even though I said, hey, I'm your neighbor. I live up there. Everything's fine. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bother you. I thought even me telling him I was his neighbor would calm him down. It's like he just glossed right over that. He didn't care. So she says, I'm such and such, and I go to school with your son. And he stops mid-sentence to me and said, oh, and got stopped, looked at her and said,
this lady has made more sense to me than anyone else. And you guys wonder why I don't watch JLR. This is why. That's his audience.
Your name? And she said, yes, sir. Like, how do you know? She only gave him her first name, and he said the whole thing. And she was like, how do you know my name? And I was like, what the crap? I looked at my son. I said, we need to go. We just need to go. We just need to go. And I'm like, I'm going to call the police, because this is getting, I don't know. I don't understand. I wish you could have, I can't describe. His body language was just very
It wasn't like for that people were out there looking for his son, or thinking it was more like I'm trying to stop.
Get off my street. Get off my street. Get out of here. Get off my street. Go home. Leave me alone. Get away from us. But he told her that, so you're the girl that runs this Facebook group and this, that, and the other. I'm going to demand you take that off. You get your phone. And he said, where are your parents? And she said, at my house. And he said, well, I'm going to find out where you live, and I'm going to come knock on their door, and we're going to have a conversation. And she said, okay, good luck with that. And I was like, you know what? Look, we don't want to, cause any issues and whatever. I try to give him grace. Don't know the man from nowhere. And I just kept saying, he's upset. His son's missing. He's really upset. He's very defensive. Maybe that's just all that what it was. Now that I've seen some of his YouTube videos, and I'm like, yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know the back end of those details. I know we talked before offline a little bit. And you said, it kind of.
Okay, let's just make it clear. In a court of law, this is hearsay. It is not admissible. It means nothing. And it's a he said, she said, which is why hearsay is not allowed in court. Keep that in mind.
Like a confrontation kind of deal. We confronted you guys, but I didn't know those like back end details that you shared. Somebody in the chat, Smiley's World, was asking, prior to the February 26th, right, when Chris arrived home, did any neighbors or anyone that you heard, whether you see it, but you said you never knew him prior, did anyone ever say anything about him being around the house on the 25th, the 24th, or seen in the neighborhood or anywhere in the area? prior to the
No, nobody's ever really mentioned him. The only person that's ever said anything about him coming home, like I said, nobody really ever paid attention. I don't think, because even the neighbor that lives close by that I'm friends with, I asked her, like, did you ever see? She said, I never really paid attention because, like, he would come and go, and they never were out really, and they had this camper, and the camper would leave, and then it would come back, and then, he never came outside. And it's odd because Chris kept saying that he would go outside and play, and all that kind of stuff. And she's like, I don't remember ever seeing him really outside playing. Like, there's no playground. They don't have a playground outside. They don't have a trampoline outside. Like, if you looked at their yard, you wouldn't even know. There's no bike. There's no, like, scooters. There's no basketballs. You wouldn't even know they have kids. There's nothing in their yard to play with. He's never outside. Like, he didn't go outside and play catch with his dad. Nothing.
Interesting. Now, as you said, pitch black in the neighborhood. Do you buy it where they're claiming that this kid walked out the front door and kind of bad neighborhood?
No. Because everybody around the camera.
Would a kid go out at night and walk around out there at night alone?
I don't think so. I mean, unless their parents didn't. Now, we did have a ding dong ditch happen a couple years ago, but no. I mean, I've never experienced kids just randomly walking around the neighborhood. That's the thing about our neighborhood, is it's so quiet. Like, at night, literally, like, in the summertime when my kids were younger. Sorry, my car shut off for me for something. My kids were younger. They would go outside and play, like, flashlight tag and stuff like that. And I had to get on to them, like, okay, 10 o'clock, y'all need to be done because everybody's got to go to bed and whatever. Nobody ever gets, like, you don't ever just see random kids walking around by themselves. I don't buy that at all. And I know that neighbors that are right around them said that there was nothing on their cameras.
Nothing. So no evidence whatsoever for that morning, 26th, and not even the 25th, the night of the 25th. Wow. Do you think law enforcement...
He just vanished. He literally just vanished.
What's your theory? What do you think?
Ding dong ditch is ring and run. When you go up someone's house, you ring the bell and then you run away. It was like a thing in the 80s.
What do you think happened? What's your theory? Based off you being a neighbor, based off you speaking to other neighbors, you're very close to the area, you've seen law enforcement over there. What do you think happened?
I have to be very careful with that one. I know there were some family dis issues, like there were some personal stuff going on within the family between Katie and Chris. Seth told us, that he was supposed to get full custody. One minute he says that Katie was okay with it. The next minute I'm hearing that Katie was not okay with it. I don't know their personal story. I know that neighbors are close by them heard fighting within their family outside, verbal things that were said outside. So I don't know that it was, I think there were some struggles within the family. I mean, every family has issues. I get that, but I don't know. Families typically would get into that kind of a dispute outside. I mean, if I was going to have a conflict of interest between my kids and I, or my husband and I, we would be inside. I wouldn't be outside making that known. And apparently there were some situations where things were heard that weren't good.
Bobby, when did those fights occur? Do you know?
Women over the past, I mean, I guess since they've been there periodically. It wasn't like a one-time thing. There were other, times where things were said and that kind of thing. I don't live close enough to them to have heard that. I mean, they would have to have screamed at each other for me to have heard that. I didn't hear it, but I know that neighbors around them have reported hearing things that were said outside, and it wasn't like a one-time thing.
Any cops ever get called?
Well, I mean, CPS was called multiple times, and I know teachers personally that still work at Beach that were told things and they had to report it. I mean, when a teacher is told, counselors and teachers are told things, they by law have to report it.
Mandatory
And I know
report.
that absolutely. And I know that, you know, kids can be over exaggerating. I know that, especially teenagers, that kind of thing. I think for me, you know, I think my kids would be respectful enough with us that if something happened, I don't think they would go and say, like, you know, my mom is mean to me. Like, they know that's not true, and they would get in trouble for lying. So for him to make up that things that he was saying, I can't imagine him making certain things that were set up enough for CPS to be called on them. And I know they were called multiple times.
Multiple times. So when you say multiple, how many times?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm not privy to that information.
Has any neighbors or anybody tell you that they've seen the CPS at their house? Like,
I don't know. They have not actually used the words "I've seen them at the house," but they've told me that there have been people that have visited an official. Like, I don't know. Like,
Okay. let me tell you guys, for anyone that might be lost, let's now give a dose of reality. Nobody is going to claim that they called CPS. There is a reason why CPS is anonymous, and people, even if it was a teacher, they advise you don't tell anybody, you know, who called. So I find it really odd that a neighbor who's not even really a neighbor, just lives like on another street, knows all the CPS workers that were there, knows how many times they were called. Now, mind you, she didn't know the neighbors. Chris didn't know the neighbors. Katie never spoke to the neighbors. She's already said that they didn't speak to the neighbors. So if they didn't speak to the neighbors, please tell me how all the neighbors knew everything going on in their life. I call bullshit.
The car that comes is not going to have CPS written on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it may have a government official like license plate or something like that. And they're not going to have they're going to have a badge on them as they go to the front door, but it's not going to be something that a neighbor is going to see, that kind of thing. So I don't know, like neighbors haven't said like, I have seen this happen, because they were really paying attention. I don't think it was one of those things where I don't think neighbors after this has happened, some of the neighbors are going back and saying, wait a minute, I remember this, and I do remember that, and I do remember this, and oh wow, this is like all connected. But when it happens over a year period of time and it's just random, but then nothing really ever comes of it, you just kind of try to stay in your own lane and mind your own business, because you're not hearing, like, I don't know that neighbors heard screaming, or like, I don't know that it was like the things that were being said outside were loud enough to make neighbors call. I don't think it was that kind of like, if a neighbor next to me, I heard a kid screaming, help me, don't, you know, whatever, I would be calling the police. Like, okay, I'm going to go inside. I'm going to call the police and be anonymous. It wasn't that kind of a thing. It was things that were said and arguments between them that made neighbors think, gosh, you know.
Well, when you say that, are we talking Chris and Katie, or is Seth in the picture too? Is it like, were there arguments with Seth there?
I don't think Seth was ever there long enough. I think he was there long enough to pick Sebastian up for his weekend, or they
Exactly. Seth was never there long enough.
would meet somewhere for his weekend or something like that. I don't think that Seth was.
Okay, hold up. She never spoke to Chris. I mean, let's analyze this. She never had a conversation with Chris, and she didn't know who Katie was. Seth doesn't live there. Seth lives in another county. So, but she knows Seth's schedule. She knows how Seth is going to picks up his own son, but she never met them. She never spoke to them. Hello, people, wake up.
Ever there. I think it was mostly, the one neighbor told me that she heard And I'm not going to go into a lot of whole big detail because I don't want to get into their whole personal life. It's not my place. But a neighbor had told me that there were things that were said between, like, Chris and Katie would get into an argument, like in the driveway, and then Sebastian might come outside and Chris would raise his voice at him, either get inside or what are you doing out here, or make comments to him like that. And like I said, it wasn't like I'm going to kill you or I'm going to beat your butt. It wasn't like such a horrible thing to make a neighbor call 911. It was just a very abrasive enough to, now that he's missing, they go back and think, oh,
So that's kind of like, that was the kind of what you were saying when the neighbors kind of.
All right, let's clarify something else, because I was thinking of this. I live not in a complex or a cul-de-sac, but I live in a development. And there's two sides to the development. And the development has a name. And we all live in this development. A neighbor to me is someone that lives on your street or on the other side of the street. Like within your peripheral vision, that's a neighbor. Your neighbor is not somebody that lives 5 streets down. Technically, I guess it's a neighbor, but not really. So I think she lived in the development, but like nowhere near Chris and Katie. So I think of my own development, and I think, I see people walking all the time. I couldn't tell you who they are, but it's kind of like if my neighbor 5 streets, 5 blocks up, wanted to know who I was, they would have no idea.
Put these pieces together after the fact.
Right. It's one of those things that you go back and look and think, oh, okay, so maybe there was something to that. I just didn't realize it.
Have you ever heard anything about the mattress in the garage?
I have, and I have not been able to confirm that. I did hear that, and the neighbor next to them, when the garage door would come up for her to leave, they saw a mattress in the garage. And well, I mean, Chris admitted that there was a mattress in there. Now, he said it was for his daughter, so maybe, but why is it still in there? I don't know. No idea.
Yeah, they said on Nancy Grace that they got a new bed set after Sebastian missing. But then people are also that punishment. Did you? And I'm
That's
talking
what I heard too.
Punishment aspect about Sebastian sleeping in the garage for punishment. Have you heard that?
I did hear that, but I can't confirm it because I have not talked to the neighbors that live next to them that were the ones that said that. I don't know for a fact they said that. But my thing is, and again, I'm not trying to put anything blame on them at all because I don't know them, don't know anything about their personal story, have no idea. I can't confirm any of this, but I just know that I'm surprised that the mattress has been in the garage that long. I mean, if the mattress is for your child, wouldn't it have been put away or put in the, I mean, why is it still in the garage and not?
See, Pecan, me and you are on the same wavelength because I thought the same thing. I have a mattress in the garage. When Dayton has friends over, well, they need somewhere to sleep. I mean, we threw it out now that Sage moved out because, I mean, Dayton's friends can sleep in Sage's bed. But I kept a mattress in the garage for like 3 years. Anytime the kids had a friend over, came out from the garage, came in the house, went in the kids' room that the person was sleeping in. And that's just the way it was. So I don't see what the big deal is.
Not in the child's bedroom. And 2, the daughter, Faith, I don't ever remember her being there. Like, if she was there, I mean, maybe once, one summer.
How would she know who comes in and out of this person's house? Why would she know who comes in and out of her house? Why would a neighbor down the road, a couple of blocks over, know anything about someone coming in and out of Chris and Katie's house when nobody spoke to Chris and Katie? Okay, lady.
I mean,
And it infuriates me that JLR is not calling her out on this. It's like, JLR, come on. I've seen you do good interviews. I really have. Why aren't you fucking calling her out on this?
I'm just surprised that she would have a brand new mattress if she's not there very much. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she didn't even have a mattress, and that's the first one.
You spoke earlier about a silhouette and a light
Oh,
inside
yeah.
the house. Talk a little bit about that, 'cause some people were asking that in the chat. What's that all about?
Okay, so if I go back to day one and kind of rehash a little bit, trying to make this as short as possible, the neighbor close by that saw Katie out front on the way to taking her kids to school, she was the one that called me. Friends, I'm good friends with her. She's the one that actually called me and told me what was going on. And said that I said, well, what happened? And she said, well, I went and asked Katie what happened. And she said, and this is where the story gets totally misconstrued. I don't know. Again, third party, I'm hearing this from another third party source. So, I trust this lady. She's a good friend of mine. There's no reason why she would lie. But she said what Katie they had gotten home from Texas Roadhouse, took the trash out, so on and so forth. Sebastian was in his room. She was in the kitchen, I guess, getting, whatever done. And from her house, she's close enough to where she can see from the Ring camera, like the lights inside, because it's dark. So, I mean, if you have lights on, you can see it. And so she said that she could see the lights in the house around 10 or so. Then Katie told her that Sebastian was in her room. She was in the kitchen. She said, you need to go to bed. And he said, okay. And she goes in the living room and does whatever, watches TV. She says she was studying. I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter. She was in the living room for whatever reason. And she told my neighbor that she fell asleep and
Say that again. You broke up. Say it again. You broke up.
She this thunk, and she yelled across the house and said, Sebastian. And he said, yes, mom. And she said, are you okay? He said, yes, I'm fine. I'm good. Go to bed. And she said, okay. So she gets up, and my neighbor said, you can actually see his light go off, her walking across the house, her light go off, and then a silhouette come up to the window for a minute. And then everything just goes black.
What time was that again? Because you cut out.
My issue is with the lady. My issue is with the lady, not with JLR right now. I just don't know why he didn't call her out. That's all.
I'm sorry. I know my son was calling me. Okay, so she woke up around 11:30 is what she told my neighbor, that she woke up about 11:30, and apparently he was still up. But I find it odd, because my thought is, and again, none of my business. I just think, okay, put yourself in that position. If I have a child who's got special needs and I hear a thump, I'm going to walk into my child. No, let me put it this way. My kids are all very healthy and normal. I'm very blessed to have very healthy kids. But if it's 11 o'clock or 11:30 at night and my kid has to be up at 6 the next morning, I'm going to be in their room yelling at them and taking their electronics away and telling them, go to bed now. That I would be walking in my kid's room. Even where my kids are now, healthy and average children, whatever, no problems. If I heard a thunk, I'm probably still going to go in their room and ask, like, what in the world was that? I wouldn't just stay. But, hey, maybe she trusts him. Maybe she thought it was no big deal. I don't know, whatever. But that's what she told my neighbor. And then she goes to bed.
11:30 though. That information is not really out there. We keep hearing 10 p.m. kind of deal. Put them to bed. Hear the thump. Are you okay? Good night. 10 p.m.
Right.
But this is what she told a neighbor.
That's right. That's right. And when I asked my neighbor, so she told me this Monday. And then when the sheriff's office came by our house to do the same door knocking thing and walking around and whatever, I asked the sheriff, I said, let me ask you a question. And he's like, what's that? And I said, I know early on investigation, they actually were talking to us. Like day 1 and 2, they were talking to us. So they were giving us information. They were telling us kind of what they were going to do and whatever. And then after about a week of it, they just shut down and never would talk again. The day that the TBI came in, that was it. No more discussion. It shut down. We're not talking about it. You're just going to have to be in the dark. So, but this day 2, when the sheriff's office came in, no, I'm sorry, the state troopers came in. Still don't know why state troopers got there. Haven't figured that one out yet. I don't know why state troopers would be there. But state troopers came in. Actually, they came into my driveway because they were rinsing their shoes off. They had gone into the construction area and his boots were all muddy. And so he and my son were rinsing his shoes off. And I looked at him and I said, let me ask you a question. I said, he's like, what's that? And I said, if you'd fallen asleep in the living room and your kid walks out the front door, wouldn't you have heard that? And he was like, not only would I have heard that, but I would have jumped up with my gun in my hand to figure out who's coming in my house.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is, like, she falls asleep on the couch and her kid just walks out the door. But then when I asked my neighbor about that again, called her the next day, I'm like, okay, explain this to me. This is what you said. I don't understand that. And she said, oh, well, she woke up and then heard the thump and that kind of thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, it goes with all that in the evening time. At the same time, like you said, no evidence that any neighbors or anyone seen that he actually returned home that day. And then we also have those lights. It's just a mystery in a sense, because those mysteries. Someone asked it. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say those were not trash trucks.
I concur. But why did authorities say it doesn't have any evidentiary value?
I asked that when I called the lead detective, and I flat out told him that I know the neighbor. I've seen the video footage from the very beginning before it was edited. She told me with her own mouth, looking at it herself, there are 2 separate occasions, car, then truck. Why is that? We've had it. He argued with me and told me that he had it broken down. The Secret Service looked at it and they confirmed that in fact it was a trash truck. And I said, I'm telling you, it was not. He said, well, I'm not going to say I argue with you. I was like, okay.
Wow. Somebody said in the chat, any video footage of Katie searching for Sebastian that morning? Like, do they have any, since you have a neighbor that has a Ring camera, did any cameras pick up Katie actually out there searching that morning before?
If she, oh, you mean before all the police got there?
Yeah.
So the neighbor that was leaving to go take her well, actually the neighbor's camera did pick up her walking around her house.
Really? So she walked around her house?
Yeah, because in the neighbor, if you're looking to her house, the neighbor to the left of them, that the wife came out and was actually looking there's like a little like a wood door underneath the house. What do you call that underneath the house? The crawl space. They actually opened up that door and were looking in the crawl space together. And so they were looking, but as far as outside of the neighborhood, I've never seen them. And they've never, no, not that I'm aware of. I mean, I asked my kids, and my kids said they had never seen her, never seen him. They did see Seth was out there a couple of times with everybody. He was at the command post. I have a good friend that was there in the command post, and she confirmed that he was at the command post. But I asked her, I said, did you see Katie or Chris or the Bowers Hawks? And she said, no, never.
Thank you so much, Tony. So appreciated. Keeping this channel alive. Because believe me, this channel needs help to stay alive.
Saw any of them. But then again, she said, but I mean, law enforcement did ask them to stay home in case he came home or called. So there's that.
Do you think law enforcement exhausted the whole area? Like, do you think they did a thorough search of the entire neighborhood and the streets along Long Hollow Pike and the school? Do you think they?
Oh yeah. I mean, I watched it with my own eyes. They were deep in. They were climbing in the trenches and looking in the sewage areas. And then they had dogs everywhere. They had drones everywhere. The question is, what are they doing with whatever evidence they collected? And what are they doing with the surveillance cameras? Because what I'm told that neighbors saw, they're denying.
They're denying.
Yes.
Why? Why is that?
exactly. I don't know. That was what I asked. I have no idea.
See
I don't
what
understand.
what I find interesting, Miss Bobby, is, I was up there a week and a half later, and then
Thank you so much, Truth Fairy. Totally appreciated.
we were searching, and on that federal property, and there was a dog hit,
Mhm.
and law enforcement didn't even go out there to look at all. It's as if they didn't even care that there could be.
I would
Think that they
right.
would look. It seems like they've already made up their mind or have a conclusion of what happened to Sebastian.
That is exactly how I have felt since the first week. Literally the first week. Within day, I mean, and a lot of people would get on Facebook and belittle our neighborhood and yell at us like, why aren't you guys out looking, and why aren't you guys have signs, and why don't you have, if I was in that neighborhood I would flood it with green, and yeah, but you haven't been violated, and you were a part of this where you had hundreds of cars a day driving up and down and taking videos and pictures of your house, and stopping and asking you questions, and the news reporters being out front your house, and you don't understand where we are, and we just want to just have some peace and some privacy. We are looking, we're out there, we're asking questions, we're talking to each other, we're on social media, we handing out flyers, whatever. We're just not, why do we need a sign when we're in the neighborhood? I mean, we live here, for heaven's sakes. Why do we need a sign? I mean, we know what's going on. If you drive through here, this neighborhood belongs to him. Why do we need a sign to say look for him? But anyway, I feel like from the very beginning, it was a massive search effort. But I just don't understand what they did with.
Thank you, sweetie pie. Thank you so much.
If they found anything, what they did with it. Why are they trying to act like the footage, did they find anything on the footage? From what I'm being told from my neighbors that saw stuff on the footage, and I asked them and they want to deny it, they want to argue with me. Why are they? And then when the TBI came and actually walked into my house, sitting in my living room couch and interviewed me, and I told them what I had heard and whatever, and then after that he gave me his card and said, oh, and I promise you, I had 12 people every day for about 3 weeks from random places. I'm talking Canada, I'm talking UK, I'm talking Hawaii, Puerto Rico. They were trying to get into our private group. Why do you need to be in our private group? Why do you need to be in our neighborhood group?
Gotcha.
Just wanting to know stuff? I don't know. But I mean, we had just they were coming out of the woodworks trying to get a piece of the information. But they just shut down. And every time I would send the TBI agent, I sent him the story about what happened.
And lady, what do you think JLR was doing? You think JLR is moving to the neighborhood?
Happened to my son and I, and said I had it on, video, whatever. And I said, do you want to see this? And, he didn't even respond to me. He didn't even respond and say, I will let you know, hold on to that. Nothing. I didn't even get a response from him.
Weird.
I called.
It seems as if they already know something, and everything else in their mind is irrelevant. It's weird.
That's how I felt. That's how I feel. I can't prove it. I mean, I don't know for sure, but that's how I feel. And that's what a lot of us feel like. I mean, a lot of us feel like, I had 4 or 5 of my neighbors come over to my house one day, and we sat in my house and talking about all this and kind of sharing stories and stuff of what we feel. And we all feel like something is going on. Something isn't right.
Miss Bobby, somebody in the chat asked if when you had that neighborhood vigil for Sebastian, were the prophets invited?
Oh yeah, it was all over our Facebook page.
So they knew.
Absolutely. Well, if they were and we had planned it a week before, so it's not like it was last minute, throw it together. It was, a matter of fact, one of the neighbors that helped me organize it, she actually had posted it on her profile.
Why am I not surprised that she put together the vigil? Why am I not shocked at all?
like just on her as a posting, and just said, I'd love to have a vigil. Let me know if anybody is doing one. And I messaged her and said, hey, why don't we do this in our neighborhood? That way the family can come as well, and it can just be our private neighbors. And she's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea to me. So I put it on the Facebook page as a post. I tagged her in it, and I said, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is where we're going to be. And then several people posted asking what time. We kind of kept going back and forth about what day, what time, and whatever. So did we go to their door and knock on their door and personally invite them? No, but we didn't do that with anybody. And we had a big group show up.
And they would have, they knew it, one was existing. Instead.
Hang on 1 second, though. This is a good point. Robin said that's the answer. Seth at the window, or someone known to Sebastian. He told his mom he's okay and go to bed. That's exactly what I said. Is exactly what I said, is what Robin said. Someone was at the window. How did she plan the vigil a week before when it took place on the following Tuesday? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
You said they brought 2 representatives, family members.
That's the other thing is that's the other thing is, for a fact they knew because they sent the family.
Yeah. What did the family say? Like, who the people that you said that came? Uncle and aunt, right? Uncle and aunt, they said?
Yes.
What did they say anything? Did they talk? They
didn't really talk much. They just kind of stood there and listened to us, introduce ourselves. And we went around the circle. It was quite a big circle. We went around the circle, and everybody, said their prayer and whatever. And then afterwards, we just kind of said, hey, do you guys need anything? And we said, do we need food? Can we set up a food train for you? Or, is there, do you need anything? And they both said, oh, we've got a lot of support. We're good. We're fine. Don't worry about us. We're good. We got plenty of support.
Does somebody asked in the chat, does the Proudfoots have security? Did the neighbor, did you guys know if they had, because Katie worked at Brinks, right? Or Brinks security system?
That was the very first thing I asked my neighbor when she told me that Sebastian is on the spectrum. And I said, hold on a minute. Doesn't she work for Brinks? And she said, yes. And I said, she has a special needs child. She works for Brinks. Does she not have security or locks or some kind of like a safety, something to keep him from coming out? And she said, not that I'm aware of. Now, the people before them, I do not believe they had security. They were elderly couple, so I don't even know if they cared. But apparently they didn't, because then Brinks came afterwards and installed. And I know that for a fact because she called me and said, well, they're getting security now. And I think Chris said that was because they felt like they were being threatened and all that kind of stuff, which I can't prove or deny, whatever. That's up to them. That's their business. But from what I understand, they did not have anything before that.
So, interesting. Very, very interesting. Has the Proudfoots been back at their home? Like, are they there?
She has been. I think she went back to work because she's been home and her van comes and goes. I think Chris came in one weekend. I don't know, but I've kind of just stopped. Like I would drive by once every, like maybe once a week just to see, if they were there, because they were there. And it was just like, and Katie's right. I heard her say that they were trying to leave to kind of give us a break because we were getting overwhelmed. We were all getting very upset and very overwhelmed with all the traffic and stuff. And, I do appreciate her saying for recognizing that. However, I was really shocked because I felt like that if my kid was missing, I don't want to say I would handle it differently, because I don't ever want to be put in that situation. And I don't want to make karma come after me.
All right, let me say something here. And I said this when I was diagnosed with cancer, and I'm going to say this again. I don't know Chris and Katie's situation about money and stuff, but if my kid went missing, God forbid, knock on wood 1,000 times, should I just stop working? Should I just not pay bills? Because bill collectors don't give a shit if your kids are missing or not. They just don't care. And Katie may have too much pride to do a GoFundMe like her husband did. Or maybe Chris didn't want it. I don't know. But the point is, even when I was diagnosed with cancer, I couldn't stop working. Bills still had to get paid. So I find it really disheartening when I hear people, oh my God, she went back to work. Of course she went back to work. She doesn't have a choice. Because again, unless you're a housewife, and even if you are a housewife, the husband goes back to work. Like, it's been months. She probably doesn't have a choice because bill collectors don't care. They don't give a shit if your kid's missing. They still want to get paid. So I have a hard time with anyone judging anyone in that situation because, yeah, I know I'm screwed. If I don't make money, how am I paying my bills? So, yeah, I stand strong with that.
But I can't imagine leaving my house if my child was missing.
Yeah, no, I mean, she was being called out by that. I mean, she's claiming that she
Yeah.
can't wait for him to come into the door, Bubba, and
Right. But I'm not her.
Over to
I'm not
Mississippi.
her, and I can't. I'm not gonna say that she did the wrong thing because I have no business saying that. I'm just surprised. I do appreciate the fact that she did recognize that we were getting overwhelmed with traffic and whatnot. So I do appreciate that.
Pecan, like I said last night or the other night, yeah, it's all gone because he gave it to an attorney to send out a bunch of fake C&Ds. So yeah, of course it's all gone. I'm sure he paid Tony. They say no, but I wouldn't doubt for 1 second that he paid Tony. Not only that, Laura, but you want a home and everything to be normal when your kid comes home. That's true too. But I'm saying from a bill perspective, like this lady's saying, I would not leave. Well, obviously you have a husband that's going to pay all your bills because it doesn't happen that way. Like when I was diagnosed with cancer, okay, I still got to work. I still got to bring in money. I can't not bring in money.
But and we were, but I would just think that, maybe Chris goes back to work and she stays there just in case. But everybody handles things differently, and if that's what she felt like she needed to do.
Pecan, you weren't here or you didn't watch the video when I said it. Chris said Seth claims that he makes like $50,000 a year. The average correction officer in Tennessee makes like $44,000. So I said, all right, let's say we'll give him, $45,000. He made more than half of that in a GoFundMe in a month. So you're going to tell me that you blew through $25,000, which is half of your yearly salary, which we know that your bills couldn't be half of your yearly salary or over half of your yearly salary, because that GoFundMe, that doesn't include any cash apps. That doesn't include anything. So if you bring home 40 and here's a free 25, you're going to tell me that you blew through that already? Lies. You didn't spend it what it was supposed to be. You didn't put it all in flyers. You didn't even pay for food on the vigils because we know T-Rev bought the hot dogs. I personally believe he's just full of shit. Exactly. The hoodie sales, everything. Total full bullshit. He did make a large chunk of cash.
Then, who am I to judge that?
But they haven't, since this incident happened, they really don't come out at all, interact with anybody that you know of.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've seen them interact with a neighbor very close to them a couple of times, be out talking to one of the neighbors, but I have not seen them out talking to anybody else.
There's rumors
like I said,
there's rumors that they might be moving. You know anything about that? Have you heard? Is there?
I've heard that so many times, and there's no confirmation of that.
Interesting.
I've asked we have a couple of realtors in our neighborhood, and I've asked them, and they've not. It's like I have not heard any confirmation of that.
Has one more thing, has the detectives or authorities ever go back to their house, like in certain time, like maybe like a week or 2 weeks after Sebastian went missing? Have they ever returned to the home?
Oh yeah, they came back. What was it, week 2 or 3? They came back, and basically started it all over again, started the searching all over again. And they also reenacted the whole scene, and they started at like, what, 10 o'clock Sunday night ish? Was it something like that, Sunday night, going into the early the next morning to see if they could kind of like retrace each one of the steps and everything that happened.
Type of deal? Or
Yeah.
Interesting, but nothing seems like, well, got their evidence and got something out of that, possibly.
If they did, they're not telling us.
They're not. How's the neighborhood now?
I think it's getting better. I mean, I'm noticing a lot of neighbors are getting out more and walking dogs again and talking. And I think people think that we're all like huddled together talking about everything that's going on. And it's not like that at all. I think we're all just trying to stay out of it, trying to give them their space and kind of stay away from everything. And we just don't, I know for me, I don't want to get into their personal business. I just don't want to be that neighbor that's all like super nosy and thinks that she knows everything, because I don't know what happened.
Has she not heard herself through this whole interview?
Understand. This kid did not just vanish. He just didn't vanish.
But does any neighbors think it was a kidnapping, or like think their children are in danger?
So that was the very first thing I asked on Wednesday when TBI came and sat down with me and talked to me. And I looked at her, I said, I get that you guys are being super quiet about this because it is still an investigation. However, if this kid was kidnapped, don't you think you might want to tell us so that we can kind of lock our kids up and, be safe?
All right, let's rewind a bit, okay? This is the same woman who claims that her and her son saw a flashlight in the construction field in the middle of the night, but she didn't want to call the police, or she called TBI, they never called her back, but she never called 911. This is also the same lady that claims she saw in the dark at like 9 o'clock a foreign car, and she witnessed with her own eyes a guy at night wearing a black goggles with a black hoodie. Her words. And she decided again not to call 911, but doesn't think Sebastian was kidnapped. Okay, lady.
For whatever. And she, instead of her, and I guess is, again, part of the investigation, she said, well, you should always do that.
That's interesting. Yeah, they have a responsibility. I mean, if one of their theories is Sebastian got kidnapped, and they never said Sebastian was kidnapped.
But there was there were no cars that came up their street and then left up their street and left. The only car that was ever seen was the one that was on Kellen, that parked on the corner of Stafford and Kellen for about 3 or 5 minutes, where the flashlights came towards it, backed up and left. And then the trash truck, and then Katie's SUV, and then the police, or then the school bus, and then the police. So there was no other car that ever drove up Stafford.
What's it?
So a car in the middle of the night that wasn't familiar to any of the neighbors drives up. They see 2 flashlights at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then the car drives away. But now we don't think he was kidnapped, because that's normal for our neighborhood. There's always people running in the backyard with flashlights, and a known car that's there 3 to 5, and an unknown car that's there 3 to 5 minutes. I can't think of anything scarier.
A car that the lights went to, or like an SUV or a car? Like, what type of vehicle was it?
I don't know. I don't remember. It just, the words that where I was told was unidentified car. I don't know if it was an SUV or a car or what. That was just what I was told. It was an unidentified car. And that was another thing, is when I asked the lead detective, I said, this car that was on Kellen, he was like, yeah, we already figured that out. That was an Uber. And I was like, no, the Uber was a neighbor on Devon that ordered an Uber about 5:30 to go to the airport. I know that. But the car sitting on, why would a car sit on Kellen if they were going up the street to get the customer to leave? I mean, you don't sit there.
Coincidentally, at the same time, lights are flashing around the time.
Well, at that same time, the trash truck would have been through there. So
Yeah.
like, you wouldn't have gotten that confused. Why would a car be sitting on our road like around 3:30, 4 o'clock Monday morning? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, one thing I say, and it's the truth, the law enforcement is not obligated to tell the public the truth.
That's true.
We have to tell law enforcement the truth if we're being interrogated or questioned or whatnot, in a sense, because you could be, charged with lying, but they're not under any legal obligation. I mean, morally, you would think they would tell the truth, but they don't legally have to. They can lie to the public, and they do. So maybe they're keeping things close to the vest.
I was just really surprised how I felt like he got a little bit defensive with me when I mentioned that I was a neighbor and talking to the neighbors about their surveillance. Because my thought is this, if you were to ask an officer a direct question, if he can't discuss it, instead of arguing with me, the response should have been, I can't confirm or deny that. I can't discuss that. We're still in investigation. Instead of him flat out lying about, or, defending it and arguing with me, why didn't he just say, well, that's still part of the investigation, I can't comment on that? And I would have simply said, okay, you're right, I understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he didn't.
Integrity of the investigation, no comment.
That's what I would have done. I mean, that's usually what they do. Why argue with me and try to convince me otherwise? It's like he was trying to convince me. Leave that alone. Stop talking about it. That's not part of this.
Got you, Bobby. Is there anything else you would like to add that I didn't ask, or anything that you want to put out there that the public should know that we forgot?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we pretty much covered everything. I just know that, we want this resolved as badly as anybody does. I would love just for this to be over and him to come home. But I really just wish people would, around social media just got really nasty and ugly and started attacking us. One of our neighbors, I will say this, one of the neighbors that live close by, they got the whole rumor about Katie having an affair with a neighbor. What started that?
Interesting. So that's not true. I saw that circulate.
$20 says JLR started that rumor.
World, not only that, but one of the neighbors, precious sweet family, I know them personally, they are a great family. They got so attacked by this rumor that their kids started being bullied at school, saying that your parents are the ones that were swingers, started being called swingers. They started getting phone calls from people all over the country claiming that they were swingers.
Yeah, that rumor.
$40 says JLR and Magnolia started that one.
So bad.
Not true at all. About
not that I know.
Neighbor. Yeah,
not that I'm aware of.
And so that neighbor was getting harassed then, huh?
Bad. It was really bad. People just get so, I mean, I know that they want answers. I know everybody.
Do you see that smirk? He's trying really hard not to smile because he knows he did that. He is so fucking easy to read. All these rumors are him.
Everybody is just really wants answers. I mean, heavens, we want answers. We're living in the middle of this. We want answers. We want all this to go away. We want the truth to be found. We want this to just be solved and be done with. But
yeah, that rumor.
Watch his face. He's trying not to laugh.
So bad.
Not true at all. About
not
Katie
that I know.
Neighbor. Yeah,
not that I'm aware of.
And so that neighbor was getting harassed then, huh?
Bad. It was really bad. People just get so, I mean, I know that they want answers. I know everybody is just really wants answers. I mean, heavens, we want answers. We're living in the middle of this. We want answers. We want all this to go away. We want the truth to be found. We want this to just be solved and be done with. But making things up and coming to your own conclusion because you don't have an answer is not helping us at all. It's not helping the family, and I'm not here by any means to defend Chris and Katie by any means. I don't know them. I don't know anything about them to defend them. I'm just saying that making up stuff is only hurting our neighborhood, because now you've got people who are harassing us and neighbors, wanting information and that kind of thing, and driving her all around. Now that the driving through the neighborhood has calmed down immensely, so that's good.
That would be driving like just regular, like YouTubers, curiosity seekers, just crime tours. Sometimes there's crime tours out there.
Well, I mean, at the beginning, there were a lot of, YouTubers that were coming through the neighborhood, and they would stop and get out of their car and walk up and down the street, videoing, taking pictures and whatever. And it was like,
it's funny that you say that, sweet one, because right before I was forced into rehab for bulimia, I walked into Thanksgiving dinner and they're like, "Oh my God, you're orange. Why is your skin orange?" I'll never forget that.
huge invasion of privacy. There's nothing we can do about it because it's a public street. I get that, but have some respect. And then just local people, I guess, feeling like the police weren't doing enough, so they were going to go out themselves and drive, and they would just drive up and around and just drive around over, like up and down around the hill and that kind of thing.
So that pretty much calmed down.
Yes, that's almost stopped. But we had two neighbors that were trying to sell their house, and neither one of them can sell it.
Oh, really?
Nope. They both took them off the market because they were getting too many.
So 2 people tried to sell their home after this incident happened, and they can't sell it.
Actually, one family actually had their house on the market before this happened, and then when this happened, their realtor just told them to take it off the market because they were getting more phone calls just being nosy than they were legitimately asking about the house.
Oh, wow.
And then the other neighbor on the other cul-de-sac actually put their house on the market right afterwards and ended up taking it off.
See, these are things people don't know about. It's interesting, because it might be devaluing the neighborhood, or people might like, hey, I don't want to move to a neighborhood where a child went missing and is still missing. It has a lot of affects people, than not just, the Proudfoots and Seth Rogers, but the whole neighborhood in general. It causes some bad things to happen with everyone. And man, I'm sorry that's happened.
I don't think anybody is going to be able to go anywhere until this is resolved, because I don't know anybody that would want to move into all this. Why would you want to move into a neighborhood where a kid just vanishes?
Exactly, because there's the type
It's
of neighborhood
scary.
where you want to have a family, build your dreams, career, raise your children, and
Safely and securely.
Yes, and I mean, I've been there. I've been in the area. Those homes are beautiful. I mean, I would love to have a dream house like that. Like it's nice, and just can't imagine. Like just a neighborhood that's never seen probably any crime ever. There's no crime in the neighborhood, right?
We had one incident many years ago that was resolved in one day, over and done with, and never had anything else. I mean, this is the kind of neighborhood that, like I said, I mean, my twins were born in that house, and when they were little, I didn't let them go out by themselves, but I would feel comfortable with them going outside in the yard, as long as it was like, just don't get in the street, because we live on the main road, and you'd have the big trucks and you have the school bus and that kind of thing coming through. And I would just say, stay in the yard. But I didn't have to worry about somebody coming up and grabbing them. I just never felt that. I never feared that. I mean, I knew my neighbors, my family all lived in the neighborhood with me. I mean, my parents lived there. My brother and sister used to live there. We all lived there together, and my kids would walk in between the yards to her house, and her kids would walk in between the yard to my house. My kids would go up the corner and play basketball with the neighbor kids, and they would all ride bikes around, and you just never worried about anybody coming in and doing anything.
But now people are kind of worried.
I don't ever, I mean, I'm not seeing kids out playing like they used to be.
Sad, because kids need to get out a little bit and enjoy the fresh air and the great outdoors, the outdoors in their yard and stuff. It's just so sad. Hopefully this young man gets found and your neighborhood could get back to normal, a sense of normalcy. I know everyone is a little bit on edge still, pins and needles, but really appreciate you coming on and providing insight. Everyone is very grateful. People in the chat, if you got some questions for Bobby, just leave them in the chat and I'll talk to you offline and maybe you can answer some of the questions. But I really appreciate you coming on. And we really never really heard from a neighbor really coming on the record speaking about it. And sorry you had to go through this, man. And I think
we all just were trying to be quiet.
I met your children when I was out there. You got the coolest sons out there. Tell them I said.
I tell them they're in there watching.
I'm not going to say their names, but I know their names. But just tell them, they're cool. You raised them very, very well, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. They're actually up there watching the game, and I said I gotta go to my car and sit in the car a minute, go talk to JLR. Oh my gosh, you're gonna be on JLR! I was like, yes.
Thank you. Totally. Everyone appreciates it, Bobby. Thank you, and we're praying for Sebastian for sure. Stay safe.
Yes.
Can I puke now or later? Blah. JLR, the celebrity. Half the problems in this case are because of JLR's lies. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. All right. My honest opinion, that was one of the stupidest 2 hours I've ever wasted. One of, not the only one. One of. Not because JLR did such a bad job, because he really didn't. But she had so many inconsistencies, and I'm sorry, I don't agree with his audience. I really thought she said a lot of nothing. She had a lot of different stories, a lot of different back and forth. She didn't know, she did know. She knew what time the neighbor took an Uber to an airport. Come on, really? You this fucking nosy? So, I don't know. But he's got 52,000 people watching this video. So I don't know. General consensus, that's what they want. I just can't do it. I do want to give you guys an update though, that I forgot to tell you guys. Xavier Harrelson, the one, the candle story that never dies. Well, Iowa police claim, I got an update, but Iowa police claim that they'll have an answer of who murdered him very soon. That was about 2-3 weeks ago. The mother, who I still believe did it, but the mother is a crackhead or a meth head living on the streets of Iowa with no real home. She's been arrested a couple of times. And I don't fault her for being like that, because I don't know what I'd be like if my only son, my only child turned out murdered. I don't know. I may be a crackhead on the streets too. So I don't fault her for that, but just a little update that I had that I forgot to fill you guys in on. So I apologize for that, but I was going through a lot and I forgot. So yeah, but the cops say that they're going to have an answer soon. Let me double check, see if they have anything yet. Hold on. No, May 22nd, no arrests 3 years after Xavier Harrelson's disappearance. So no update yet. Oh, the farmer who discovered Xavier Harrelson's body speaks 2 weeks ago. So maybe this is when I found out it was 2 weeks ago. But here's an update.
Three years after Xavier Harrelson went missing from his Montezuma home. Still no arrests in the case, but investigators say they are closer to finding out what happened to the 10-year-old boy.
A farmer discovered Xavier's body months after he disappeared, only on KCCI. That farmer speaks publicly for the first time to our Laura Terrell.
I started mowing up this waterway here because it hadn't been mowed yet.
Powashik County farmer Dustin Cummings describes the day he stumbled upon a discovery that brought heartache to an entire community.
That's when I saw the clothing.
The extensive 4-month search for Xavier Harrelson ended in this farm field. Cummings walks us to the exact spot he found the 10-year-old's body on September 30th, 2021.
I was literally right here, somewhere in here.
Does it feel, is it hard to stand in this spot?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely gets to me, but also just glad he is at least found. I hated that it was like that.
The field is just 3 miles from the mobile home Xavier shared with his mother. Cummings says he'd worked in the field multiple times, but the grass was too tall to see anything. That day, something stood out.
I was going up this hill, pulled back down, looked it over, kicked the grass around, and then that's when, that's when I saw the shoe.
And like, what if you never would have come back around? Like, who knows? You know,
That's the part that probably has ran through my head the most was, what made me turn back around.
A shoe was the first clue. Cummings says he then recognized the pajama pants investigators describe Xavier wearing the night he disappeared.
It wouldn't have been for the clothing, the blue and black checkered, whatever that was, pajama pants or whatever. I don't think I would have kept going.
The trauma of that discovery stays with Cummings, but he hopes to be a voice for the little boy he never knew. In Montezuma, small signs of hope still sprinkle the town square.
Initially, when we hung these up, we thought we would leave them there until he was found. But I don't know. I kind of feel like we need to leave it there until justice is served.
This ribbon has stayed on Jackie Boland's business for 3 years. The former mayor says she has faith law enforcement will solve this case.
I know that they want to figure this all out more than anyone.
The case is far from cold. DCI agents say they are still applying for new search warrants and following new leads.
This is by far the biggest in terms of mass investigation that I've ever been a part of, period. And it's something that in law enforcement.
Yeah, mom moved out immediately with her boyfriend. That's the right case. She moved away before he was even found.
Occasionally you'll have cases that you don't have to get motivated for. This is one of them. Xavier was a very, very special kid.
and such an eerie feeling to be standing in that spot where he was found. So heartbreaking, but we're grateful to Dustin Cummings, the farmer who wants to keep Xavier's name alive and talk about this traumatic experience.
Oh, absolutely. And Laura, DCI says they're actually getting closer to solving this.
You know, this is the first time, Stacey and Ben, that we're hearing them say that. Agent Kedley says he's very confident the case is going to be solved, would not give a timeline, but says that they are getting closer. So that's good news.
It sure is.
So that was the update someone sent me a couple of weeks ago. I didn't remember if it was like 2 weeks or a month. And in final notes, this is actually really sad. In South Florida, I caught this before. So a hospital director in Florida went to a bank ATM. Her ex-husband or ex-boyfriend pulled up next to her and killed her and her kid. And then shot himself right in the bank parking lot. How sad is that? Her 3-year-old son in Southwest Miami. And then he turned the gun on himself. Can you imagine being in that bank? And Laura, you did track her down on the streets on drugs to ask if she could give a free candle to his best friend. No. Oh. I did, Crystal. And that's sad. They were going through a breakup. No signs that I was aware of, but there was. Oh, she also had a restraining order against him. But we see how much good that did. He pulled up alongside her, fired, killing bankrupt and Kuda before turning the gun on himself. How sad is that? He was 4. They were in a minivan, pulled up to a Chase Bank ATM when the shooting took place. People are sick. There was a whole bunch of stuff I saw. This chick got 15 years. "15 years to life for hit and run of 2 brothers in a crosswalk 3 years ago." I just read about this. She was a prominent LA doctor and she got drunk. She ran over an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old while speeding. They found her guilty on all counts. Good. Dumb bitch. Prosecutors have evidence, a data recorder. Her white Mercedes showed her speeding up to 81 miles per hour. She tapped her brakes, slowing down 73. Good, I'm glad she got 15 years. Bitch. I just read about that the other day. And did you guys hear about this one? A 6-year-old gets hit with a badminton racket from her brother and died. Like, what are the odds? In Jersey? Can you fucking imagine? I think I spoke about this the other day. Can you imagine how her brother feels? Her brother's probably traumatized. Ah, a dog saved his life. He's on his way to his camp. Police received a call following morning. Who never made it. Brandon Garrett operator was located alive approximately 100 yards from the vehicle. Investigation that Garrett had been traveling north with the dogs when he failed to negotiate a curve. One of the dogs traveled nearly 4 miles to their camp, which alerted the rest of the party something was wrong. Garrett was able to crawl approximately 100 yards from the vehicle where he spent the night. The 3 remaining dogs were located alive at the crash scene. Aww. What awesome dogs. That's awesome. What a happy turnout to a story. Tiger shark vomits entire spiky land creature. Okay. Some dude attacked 4 people with a metal pipe. 3 people died at the home. 4th person just died. I'm telling you, there's so much crime everywhere. It's scary. Crazy. Crazy, crazy. All right, I'm going to get off though. I've been on 3 hours. And it's 2 o'clock in the morning. So hopefully I can get some sleep. No, 4 people were killed with a metal pipe. One of them, hold on, what was that? Gabby Tito begged Brian to stop crying, calling her names in a heartbreaking final love letter. Gabby, 22, and Brian Laundrie, 23, have been traveling. In the years after Gabby was killed and Brian later found dead, toxic details of the relationship have come to light, including selfies taken by Gabby of injuries to her face. Now the FBI released a love letter written by Gabby to Brian expressing how deep-rooted love for him while begging him to stop crying. Selfie taken by Gabby. She and her fiance was stopped by police. Okay, we know all this. Oh. Crazy. Who is that? Linda Perry? She looks like she's trying to be Steve Tyler. She's adorable. Oh, all right. I'm going to bed. Thank you guys so much for all the love. Got to keep this channel alive. And you guys did a great job of doing that tonight. And I will see you beautiful people tomorrow. And don't forget, order your candles. It's BOGO special. Buy one, get one free. You're not going to get a deal better than this. I promise you. You're never going to get this kind of quality for like $15 a candle, which is really what it comes out to, is like $15 a candle. I'm hoping that people that have never bought before will give it a shot because it is such a great deal. And if you sign up for subscription, you save even more money. So, but I'm putting together a commercial. Should be done by tomorrow. I'm going to blast it all over social media. So I will see you beautiful people later. Don't forget, order your candles, energycandles.com. Again, totally appreciate the memberships and super chats. And I will see you beautiful people tomorrow. Have a wonderful night.